Chapter 403. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow could only see the rolling energy in the sky. He couldn't see anything else. Love go little say W. Chu, don't worry, it's at the early stage of the venerable realm. It's not Commander Chin's match at all. The battle will end soon. I didn't expect there to be a venerable dark creature here, Lei Hua said. Lei Hua was a little scared. Night Sorrow had really escaped death this time. Under the confinement of a venerable, it was impossible for a rank 4 cultivator to break free. It was really rare for Night Sorrow to be able to escape. With a miserable roar, the battle ended, and the sky became clear again. Looking carefully, Night Sorrow saw that Qin Nan's soft sword was stabbed into the dark creature's head. Half of the sword tip was sticking out from the back of the head. Snorting coldly, Qin Nan retreated a distance. With a wave of his arm, energy wrapped around the dark creature's body and landed on the ground. Bastard! I can't wait for you to come out and die. 13. Is there anything wrong? Qin Nan dragged the dark creature's body to Night Sorrow. I'm fine. My internal organs were shaken a little. Night Sorrow reached out and took off a piece of silver armor from his shoulder. A rank 5 silver armor shattered and you're fine. No one can do this except for you. Qin Nan looked at the silver armor fragment that Night Sorrow threw away and then looked at the ice silk soft clothes on Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow, is your soft clothes a spirit artifact, ice silk soft clothes? Lei Hua asked. Yes. Night Sorrow nodded. He took out a battle robe and put it on. Deputy Palace Master, this dark venerable gave me some inspiration. Dark creatures have a violent personality. If Night Sorrow can lure them out and we can kill them, the situation will be easier to control. Qin Nan took out his sword and collected the dark venerable's horn and crystal core before throwing them to the city lord's mansion's resource manager. That won't do. There are too many tier 3 and tier 4 dark creatures. It'll be difficult to lure out a high-level dark creature. Night Sorrow interjected before Lei Hua could speak. I see. 13. Go and heal your wounds first. We'll talk about entering the dark space after you've recovered, Qin Nan said. Seeing Night Sorrow's ice silk robe, Qin Nan knew that Wu Lingfei valued Night Sorrow a lot. That was because it was her protective robe. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow drank some origin spirit liquid and began to heal. The attack that Venerable Heian had given him was quite heavy. While Night Sorrow was recovering, Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and Ho Jian were waiting for him. Baidu search AI go female sign shao say www.aichuxs. Xiao Ho Jian and the others felt very complicated. They knew that if it weren't for Night Sorrow taking care of them and not going in first, then who knew how many of them would have died today. In Lei Hua's tent, Qin Nan was looking at the fragments of silver armor that had fallen from Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow's defensive power is very strong. The silver armor was shattered and the ice silk robe offset a part of it. That was still equivalent to a mid-5th order's full power attack. His internal organs were only shaken, Qin Nan said. Was it right or wrong for us to send him in? If something happens to him, we really won't be able to explain it to Sir. Baidu search AI go female sign shao say www.aichuxs.com, Lei Hua said with some hesitation. After Lei Hua finished speaking, he suddenly stood up. Qin Nan also stood up. The tent's curtain was lifted and Wu Lingfei appeared in a white robe and a golden mask. My lady. Lei Hua and Qin Nan both bowed. Go call Yi Shang over. Wu Lingfei walked to the main seat, turned around, and ordered. Qin Nan bowed and left the tent. Lei Hua reported what happened today and asked for Wu Lingfei's opinion. However, Wu Lingfei didn't say anything and didn't make any arrangements. When Qin Nan arrived, Night Sorrow stopped meditating. Although his face was a bit pale, his blood energy was a lot better. 13. Come with me. Qin Nan waved to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and the others and followed Qin Nan to the tent in the center of the camp. "Aunt Fei, why are you here?" Seeing Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow was very surprised. "I felt the profound jade energy in your body was violently shaken, so I came to take a look." "Are you okay?" Wu Lingfei asked. "I'm fine. It's just that my blood energy was shaken a little. I just need to meditate and recover. I can continue fighting tomorrow afternoon at the latest." Night Sorrow said. "You don't need to fight. Even if I have to pay a price tomorrow, I will destroy this spatial passage." Wu Lingfei said. "My lady, you can't. If there is a backlash from the power of law, you will have to bear the consequences. This will destroy your foundation." Lei Hua was a little anxious. "Aunt Fei, I can withstand it. I don't need you to do anything. I will tell you when I can't." Noticing Lei Hua's anxious attitude and knowing that destroying the spatial passage would cause great harm to Wu Lingfei, Yishan hurriedly said. "Okay, remember. If you can't handle it, just shake the profound jade energy in your body and go meditate to heal." Wu Lingfei nodded to Night Sorrow. "You two go too." Wu Lingfei waved her hand to drive them away. Lei Hua and Qin Nan went to Lei Hua's tent. "My lady is a little angry this time," Qin Nan said. "Of course. Didn't you hear what Night Sorrow called her lady?" Lei Hua glanced at Qin Nan. "Then what should we do next?" Qin Nan didn't know how to arrange the next battle. Without Night Sorrow at the front, the Blood Strike Guards would suffer casualties if they went in. This was something she didn't want to see. Should she let Night Sorrow continue fighting? However, she didn't know Wu Lingfei's attitude. "I don't know either. I think we should follow the original plan. If the lady doesn't agree, she will stop it," Lei Hua said. Qin Nan nodded. She knew that this was the only way. Night Sorrow returned to his tent and continued to meditate to heal. He felt warm in his heart. He knew that Wu Lingfei was truly concerned about his safety. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come over in such a short time. Night Sorrow didn't say anything, so Ho Jian and the others didn't ask. After recovering for an entire night, he felt that his blood energy wasn't completely unblocked. He continued to recover for an entire morning before standing up. "Captain, how's your recovery?" Nan Liu asked. "I'm as good as new. What do you guys think? Should we fight or not?" Night Sorrow asked. "Let's listen to the captain. If the captain wants to fight, we'll fight." Ho Jian and the others nodded. "Then let's go to the spatial tunnel and see what arrangements the division master and Commander Qin have." Night Sorrow led them to the bottom of the black pit. Lei Hua and Qin Nan were in front of the spatial tunnel at the bottom of the black pit. The other 30 Blood Strike Guards were also standing in a row. "Captain." When they saw Night Sorrow, the 30 Blood Strike Guards cupped their hands in greeting. "You're all too polite." Night Sorrow cupped his hands in return before walking over to Lei Hua and Qin Nan. "I9 head, why, hair, why, have you decided to enter?" Lei Hua asked. "Enter. If I can't, I'll run back. I don't believe that I'll meet a supremacy this time," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Chapter 404. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow took the black orb and looked at Qin Nan in confusion. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao say www.aichuxs.com. This is a seal-breaking bead. It can break through space. Keep it close to your body. If a venerable uses space bind, use your energy to shatter it and think of a way to escape, Qin Nan said. 13. Don't you have a protective bracelet? If you encounter a venerable's attack, break through the space bind and activate the bracelet. That way, you'll have a higher chance of escaping, Lei Hua said. Understood. You guys wait for me here. I'll go in first. If I don't make it back, you guys can go in. The chances of me getting killed are low, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the others and the blood-robed guards behind him. Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, then turned and entered the spatial tunnel. After entering the dark space, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and used the 7-star dazzling moon spear. On this day, the entrance of the spatial tunnel was once again filled with dark creatures. Another rank 5 dark violent bear was also approaching the spatial tunnel. After Night Sorrow fought for a while, Ho Jian's group and the blood-robed guards rushed in. Everyone, be careful. The dark violent bear and the dark blood ape are not a big problem. The undead zombie is the scariest, Night Sorrow said as he fought. Captain, we brought flying swords. If they come over, you can hold them off and use the opportunity to pull away. We can heavily injure them with a wave of flying swords, a blood-robed guard said. That's good. We brothers fight side by side. I don't believe we can't clean this place up, Night Sorrow said as he fought. Captain, you're amazing, the blood-robed guard said with a laugh. After fighting for a while, the dark blood ape came over. It was originally 7 to 8 li away, farther than the dark violent bear, but it was very vigilant. Night Sorrow first sent out 2 sky-piercing spears with ice flood dragon tendons. When the dark blood ape extended its paw, the 30 bloodstrike guards launched flying swords at the dark blood ape. The attack of over 30 flying swords instantly shattered the dark blood ape's protective energy shield. Just as the dark blood ape's energy shield shattered and it was about to attack the bloodstrike guards, Night Sorrow fired 2 sky-piercing spears. One of the sky-piercing spears struck the dark blood ape's thigh, while the other struck its abdomen. The 2 sky-piercing spears were effective. The energy in Night Sorrow's Book of Myriad Tao exploded as his body instantly accelerated. He used the ice jiao tendon to bind the dark blood ape. What he was most worried about was that the dark blood ape would fly. If that happened, there would be no way for him to fight. After using the ice dragon tendon to wrap around the dark blood ape's legs and waist, Night Sorrow held the reincarnation spear in his right hand horizontally and wrapped it around the ice dragon tendon. Then, he rushed behind the dark blood ape and extended his left hand into the ice dragon tendon that was wrapped around the dark blood ape's waist. Then, he exerted his strength and lifted the dark blood ape up. Brothers, retreat! Night Sorrow shouted as he carried the struggling dark blood ape and charged out of the spatial tunnel. Help me kill it! After charging out of the dark tunnel, Night Sorrow threw the struggling dark blood ape to the ground. Then, he used both of his arms to twist one of the dark blood ape's incomparably thick arms and pressed the dark blood ape to the ground. Looking at the dark blood ape that was pressed down by Night Sorrow, Qin Nan sighed. He waved his flexible sword and pierced through the dark blood ape's head. 13. This commander doesn't understand. Between the two of you, who is the demonic beast? There were other demonic beasts inside that were interfering. It wasn't easy to deal with it, so I could only carry it out. Night Sorrow let go of the dark blood ape and pulled out his sky-piercing spear from the dark blood ape's body. He also put away the ice dragon tendon that was wrapped around the dark blood ape. Too savage. Lei Hua lamented. Other than Night Sorrow, he didn't know anyone else who could compete with a demonic beast in terms of strength. The dark violent bear was carried out by Night Sorrow. When it was carried out, although it didn't have much life force, it was still struggling. The dark blood ape didn't suffer any fatal injuries, but it was still carried out by Night Sorrow and pressed to the ground. There's still a rank 5 dark violent bear in that area. Rank 5 dark violent bears aren't the most dangerous. The most dangerous one is the undead zombie whose cultivation I can't see through. Night Sorrow said. If you can't see through its cultivation, then it's at least mid-rank 5. 13. Do you have any ideas? Qin Nan asked. I don't know. I don't have any good ideas at the moment. Night Sorrow thought for a while and said. Mid-rank 5 or late-rank 5 demonic beasts can injure you in one move. You have no chance of fighting them. The difference is too big. Lei Hua said. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He lowered his head and thought. He knew that this was a problem that needed to be solved. Only by dealing with the dark violent bear and the undead zombie would they be able to clean up the space tunnel. Are there any treasures that can injure a rank 5 zombie in an instant? Yang Lei asked. We can think about this direction. However, the problem is that this spatial tunnel is one way. In other words, we can go from the inside to the outside. There is no energy restriction. The energy bodies that enter from our side cannot exceed the limit of Tier 5. The same goes for treasures, Lei Hua said. Everyone is tired. Let's not work today. We'll rest for a bit and fight again tomorrow. Night Sorrow looked at the Bloodstrike Guard members who weren't in good condition. Afterward, the Bloodstrike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others went to rest. Night Sorrow also returned to his tent. He kept thinking about how to deal with the dark zombie. It was the biggest threat. Just as Lei Hua said, if the dark zombie started attacking, Night Sorrow and the others wouldn't even have a chance to fight it. The difference between them was too big. It wasn't something that could be made up for with battle experience and skill. There was a fundamental difference between dark zombies and dark creatures. Dark creatures had intelligence, but they fought instinctively. They relied on their instincts and talent to fight. Dark zombies were either humans or demonic beasts in their previous lives. Even if they didn't have memories in their heads, their bodies still had memories. They could use battle techniques and were completely different from dark creatures. 13. The dark zombies aren't scary. The scariest ones are the dark spiritual corpses. According to the records, the dark spiritual corpses are at the venerable realm. Furthermore, they are much stronger than ordinary venerables, Sikong Chuyu said. I'm not sure what's going on here, Yishan said. The dark spiritual corpses are the evolution of dark zombies. After entering the venerable realm, they gained intelligence and recovered their memories from their previous lives. In addition to their innate talent with the death attribute, they are definitely outstanding among those at the same level, Sikong Chuyu said. So that's how it is. Having the death attribute really does give them an advantage over cultivators at the same level. I hope there aren't any dark spiritual corpses in this dark space, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 405. Genius 1 second Remember Love Go/Little. Shoa.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Could it be that there are people in this space? Night Sorrow asked in shock. Not necessarily. Corpses and living people are two different things. Perhaps a world collapsed or a spatial crack appeared, causing the space to become chaotic. The land containing the human corpses was absorbed by the dark space. After a long period of nourishment by dark energy, the corpses mutated, Sikong Chuyu said. I don't care about that. Now is the time to kill. I'm more excited now, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Be careful. Safety comes first because the two of us need you to take care of us. You still have a lot of things to do, Yang Lei said. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Night Sorrow nodded. They chatted for a while. Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. He only needed to condense his true chi. What he needed to improve now was the power of the soul and the cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome. After this period of hard work, Night Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome naturally entered the middle stage of the 6th level of the consolidation realm. This was all thanks to the help of the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. Other people couldn't even get a piece of the Ice Spirit Blood Essence, but Night Sorrow had already consumed several pieces during this time. After a night of cultivation, Night Sorrow was called away by Lin Nan. She brought Night Sorrow to a large tent. Inside the tent, 30 Bloodstrike guards were meditating. When they saw the two of them arrive, they all stood up and bowed slightly to them. Because of some reasons, there are some things that I don't want to hide from you. These 30 people are the elites of the Black Iron Guards of Dongxian City. They form the 5th squad of the Bloodstrike Guards. From now on, you will be their captains, Qin Nan said. Don't worry, Commander Qin. I will definitely lead them well. I can't guarantee that they will come out of this incident unscathed, but I will do my best to return them to you in one piece, Night Sorrow said. You're ignoring this, Commander, not only in this mission, but also in the future. In the future, you'll be their captain. They're one of the more special squads of the Blood Strike Guard. They're the weakest, but they have the most potential, Qin Nan said. That's not appropriate. Night Sorrow said after a moment of hesitation. You don't have to worry about their loyalty. Their loyalty can withstand any test. You don't have to worry about your identity either. This is also the will of that lord, Qin Nan said. Knowing that this was Wu Lingfei's intention, Night Sorrow was no longer worried. He reached out and took off his mask. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Night Sorrow. I am ranked 13th in my brother's sect, so you can also call me 13. Love go little say, Night Sorrow said. Captain, you're so young. The blood-robed guard stared in shock at Night Sorrow's youthful yet determined face. Nonsense. Night Sorrow isn't even 20 years old. Not only is he a member of Tianji Tower, but he's also a member of the City Lord's Manor. It's enough for you to know that. Don't blabber. From now on, you'll be his subordinates. 13, I'll leave these people to you. Qin Nan nodded to Night Sorrow and left. Wu Lingfei had instructed Qin Nan to make this arrangement. Qin Nan was just following orders. However, she felt that it was appropriate to leave this squad of blood-robed guards to Night Sorrow. Brothers, I'm not good with words, so I don't know how to say nice things. Since we'll be fighting side by side in the future, you can look for me if you have any problems. If I can help, I won't shirk. If I can't, I'll do my best to think of a way, Night Sorrow said. Forever. Forever *K free of charge * read novels * Captain, you're too polite. We all admire you and are willing to fight side by side with you, a blood-robed guard said as he stepped forward. Then let's skip the pleasantries. After this problem is solved, let's go back and drink to our heart's content, Night Sorrow said with a nod. My name is Xue Ling. I'm the vice-captain of this squad. If you have any problems, just let us know, the blood-robed guard, Xue Ling, said. All right. Tell the brothers to get ready. We'll continue to fight. Night Sorrow nodded to the blood-robed guards and left the tent. Vice-captain, our captain is really young, but his combat strength isn't weak, a blood-robed guard said. Xue Fei. I've heard of the captain's name a long time ago. He's the most outstanding genius of Medicine Valley in thousands of years. Although he's not even 20 years old, he's killed many opponents. All of them were stronger than him. That's enough talk. Get ready to go, Xue Ling said. When the blood-robed guards arrived at the bottom of the black pit, Night Sorrow, Ho Jian, and the others were waiting. Captain. The 30 blood-robed guards bowed to Night Sorrow. Since you're all here, wait a moment. I'll go in first. Today, we're going to kill that rank 5 dark violent bear and then clean up the area in preparation for the duel with the dark zombie whose cultivation can't be seen clearly. After Yi Shan gave his instructions, he carried the reincarnation spear and entered the spatial tunnel. After entering the dark space, Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and started fighting. Ho Jian, Nan Liyue, and the blood-robed guards followed him in. Take care of each other. Don't be too aggressive. We're not in a hurry. Take your time. It's impossible that we can't kill all of them, Night Sorrow said. Everyone fought steadily and surely in the following battles. Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear solved the crisis from time to time. Liyue, focus on the zombie whose cultivation we can't see. Don't worry about the violent dark bear. Just kill it when it comes over, Night Sorrow gave Nan Liyue a task. Captain, don't worry, Nan Liyue replied. Nan Liyue, Ho Jian, and Lei Bao were all prideful people. They wouldn't easily acknowledge anyone. However, once they acknowledged someone, they would acknowledge them from the bottom of their hearts. Night Sorrow had achieved this. The battle continued. The dark creatures outside the canyon were replenishing their numbers. However, the replenishment speed wasn't as fast as Night Sorrow's slaughter. You guys hold your ground. I'll go get the violent dark bear. Once we deal with it, we'll be safer. We can't let two rank 5 demonic beasts attack us at the same time, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the blood-robed guards. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow executed the soaring dragon steps. He avoided the dark creatures attacking him and approached the violent dark bear. He was worried that the rank 5 dark zombie and the violent dark bear would attack the spatial tunnel together. That would be an unsolvable situation. In the eastern Xian region, only cultivators below the rank 4 realm could enter the dark space. If two rank 5 dark creatures led a large number of dark creatures to block the tunnel, then whoever entered would die. Night Sorrow's soaring dragon steps were fast and nimble. Ordinary rank 4 and rank 3 dark creatures couldn't attack him. When Night Sorrow was 3 li away from the violent dark bear, it discovered Night Sorrow. With a furious roar, it flew towards Night Sorrow. At this time, Night Sorrow turned and ran. If the violent dark bear caught up to him, he would be finished. Night Sorrow turned back and the violent dark bear started to chase. Its speed was much faster than Night Sorrow's. Chapter 406. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Shao. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow hadn't used his innate skill, spatial rend, since he had mastered it. Now, he wanted to give it a try. Baidu search Love Go divided by Shao Shua www.aichux. Koma's Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy erupted. The innate bloodline energy flowed along his bones and flew out from the Shindao acupoint on his neck. Look at the original chapter BGTR*. Only the sound of space splitting and spatial ripples could be heard. The spatial rend energy slashed towards the dark violent bear. Chi. The energy directly slashed the dark violent bear's left shoulder, leaving a deep gash. The dark violent bear had sensed danger and moved its body. Otherwise, Night Sorrow's attack would have landed on its throat. Baidu search Love Go divided by Shao Shua www.aichux. So beautiful. Night Sorrow inwardly exclaimed. Even though the spatial rend was only a few dozen meters away, it already had such power. How could Night Sorrow not be pleasantly surprised? After estimating his innate bloodline energy, Night Sorrow felt that he could use spatial rend 3 times. Night Sorrow was very satisfied that he could use this attack 3 times. Although it wasn't a true spatial rend, the killing effect was very strong. Although his mind was filled with thoughts, Night Sorrow's speed wasn't slow. After a few shuttles, he returned to the spatial tunnel. Help me stand guard. After entering the cleared area, Night Sorrow shouted to Ho Jian's group of 4 and the blood-robed guards. As Night Sorrow shouted, the dark violent bear arrived above the battlefield. It continuously slapped at Night Sorrow, its energy slamming into the ground and creating earth-shattering explosions. Ho Jian's group of 4 was very calm. They immediately sealed off the path that Night Sorrow had used to return, preventing the other dark creatures from rushing over. The Bloodstrike guards were also well trained, so they weren't affected by the dark violent bear's violent attacks. They all defended their own areas. On Night Sorrow's side, he dodged the dark violent bear's attacks while thinking about how to deal with this problem. Currently, he only had 2 ways of attacking the dark violent bear. One was the sky-piercing spear, and the other was the spatial rend. Night Sorrow did not want to casually use spatial rend, so he could only choose to use sky-piercing spear. Night Sorrow's body flashed as he arrived beneath the dark violent bear. The sky-piercing spear continuously shot towards the dark violent bear. Night Sorrow moved his body to control the firing angle. The sky-piercing spear was shot straight up into the sky. This way, even if it didn't hit the target, the sky-piercing spear would still fall down and not disappear somewhere else. The sky-piercing spear continued to be flung away, emitting sharp whistling sounds. Night Sorrow still had 2 sky-piercing spears with ice flood dragon tendon attached to his waist that he hadn't used yet. Night Sorrow used soaring dragon steps to dodge the attack. Then, Night Sorrow used sky-piercing spear to attack. Although the sky-piercing spear hadn't hit the dark violent bear, the dark violent bear was enraged. It couldn't hold back its anger as it pounced towards Night Sorrow. The dark violent bear was an extremely violent demonic beast. How could it endure being beaten? After Night Sorrow dodged the dark violent bear's pounce, he waved his hand and shot the sky-piercing spear with ice flood dragon tendon attached to it. The dark violent bear took a step back, dodging Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear. The sky-piercing spear stabbed into a huge rock. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow used spatial rend. Spatial fluctuations appeared once again. These spatial ripples were like the surface of a calm water that had been sliced open by a fin. The dark violent bear raised its paw and slapped towards Night Sorrow's spatial rend. Rip! The energy on the dark violent bear's paw was cut open by the spatial rend. Blood flowed out of the bear's paw. At this moment, Night Sorrow used soaring dragon steps. Using the sky-piercing spear stuck in the huge rock as a base, he started to entangle the dark violent bear. Brothers, use your flying swords to meet it head-on. Night Sorrow used the ice flood dragon tendon to entangle the dark violent bear twice. Then, he pulled out the sky-piercing spear stuck in the huge rock and charged towards the dark violent bear's back. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, the 30 members of the blood-robed guards shot their flying swords at the dark violent bear's chest. The dark violent bear roared. The energy on its body surged, sending the flying swords of the blood-robed guards flying. At this moment, Night Sorrow stabbed the sky-piercing spear into the dark violent bear's waist. Then, he held the reincarnation spear in his right hand horizontally across the dark violent bear's back. The energy of the myriad Dao Tome in his body erupted as he pushed the dark violent bear forward. The dark violent bear tried to resist, but Night Sorrow's strength was too great. It couldn't withstand it. Furthermore, its waist had been hit, so it was in too much pain. It could only follow Night Sorrow's strength and charge forward. As Night Sorrow pushed the dark violent bear towards the spatial passageway, he shouted, "Brothers, help me pick up the sky-piercing spear. Let's retreat." After Night Sorrow pushed the dark violent bear out of the spatial passageway, he pushed it against the stone wall at the edge of the pit. "What are you looking at? Kill it!" Night Sorrow roared when he saw Lei Hua, Qin Nan, and the others looking at him. Qin Nan walked over and finished off the dark violent bear with a single slash. "You pushed it out just like that?" "Yes." "There are many other dark creatures inside, so it's safer to get it out." "It's easy for it to fly away," Night Sorrow said as he put away the sky-piercing spear and ice serpent tendon. Then, the blood strike guards brought over the 10 sky-piercing spears and handed them to Night Sorrow. "Brothers, rest. We won't be working today," Night Sorrow shouted at the blood strike guards and Ho Jian. "I'll give you more food today." "You're all good," Qin Nan shouted at the resource manager behind him. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and the others returned to their tents. After drinking the tea brewed by Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow felt very satisfied. Drinking tea after a battle was a rare treat. After resting for a while, Night Sorrow changed into a clean set of robes, took off his mask, and cleaned himself. Then, he went to Wu Lingfei's tent. "You're here. Take a seat." Wu Lingfei, who was meditating inside the tent, opened her eyes and said, "Aunt Fei," Night Sorrow greeted as he brewed the tea. "You performed well. The situation of a battle can change in an instant. If you can seize an opportunity, you have to control it." The dark violent bear was fighting inside, so there were many variables. "You brought it out, creating a scene of absolute slaughter," Wu Lingfei said. "Night Sorrow understands." Night Sorrow nodded. Some people have gone through proper training, but their actual control of the situation may not be on point. Some people, although they haven't experienced much, do things in a way that contains truth. This is talent, and you are quite talented in this regard, Wu Lingfei said. Aunt Fei, have you been here all this time? Night Sorrow asked. I should have. What's the matter? You don't want me here? Wu Lingfei wore a mask, but Night Sorrow could sense a smile on her face. No, no. I feel at ease with you here, Night Sorrow hurriedly explained. Chapter 407. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. I will. What do you need me to do, Auntie Fei? Night Sorrow asked. There are many things that Auntie Fei can't use right now, unless it's a destiny stone. Haha. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Haven't you used a water destiny stone before? Do you want me to give it to you to study? Night Sorrow asked. That's not necessary. Actually, Auntie Fei's destiny stone isn't completely of the water element. It used to be of the ice element, but it later evolved to the water element. However, there's still a chance that it could evolve to the life element, Wu Lingfei said. That means it needs a life destiny stone. This dark space might not have one. Night Sorrow shook his head. It's very likely that this dark space has a destiny stone of life. Destiny stones always counter each other. In other words, if there's a darkness destiny stone in this dark space, there'll be a corresponding light destiny stone. In addition, Auntie Fei analyzed the energy in this dark space. It feels like darkness energy, but it's actually diluted with death energy. This dark space should be called a death space. Wu Lingfei analyzed for Night Sorrow. According to Auntie Fei's analysis, this is a death space. If there's a death destiny stone here, does that mean it corresponds to a life destiny stone? Night Sorrow said. It's hard to say. There are many intelligent creatures here, and treasures can be easily taken away. This is the rhythm of a chaotic world. The appearance of alternate spaces is an opportunity, but it's also a sign of a chaotic world. Who knows which alternate space has a giant hibernating in it? Wu Lingfei said. Hearing Auntie Fei say that, it's quite scary. Night Sorrow said with a sigh. It's nothing. Everything has its counter. There's always a solution. Even if a great calamity comes, there will be people to face it. Wu Lingfei shook her head. After that, Night Sorrow asked a few more questions before returning to his tent. After chatting with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu for a while, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate, continuing to polish his Zhenqi. Wu Lingfei had given him a direction, and that was to break through to the 5th step in the death space. With a Tier 5 cultivation base, he would be able to protect himself in the death dimension. After all, Tier 5 and Tier 4 were two completely different concepts. With a cultivation of the 5th step and Night Sorrow's life-saving methods, it would be very difficult for anyone below the Venerable Realm to kill him. After all, the defensive effect of the ice silk soft clothes activated by a cultivation of the 5th step would be even stronger. Over the next few days, Night Sorrow and the others kept on killing, but they still didn't attract the dark zombie that Night Sorrow couldn't see the cultivation of. Night Sorrow asked Wu Lingfei, and Wu Lingfei felt that there were two possibilities. The first was that the dark zombie's perception was too low and it didn't notice Night Sorrow and the others. The second was that it ignored Night Sorrow and the others and used the death energy that Night Sorrow and the others produced to cultivate. The first possibility wasn't much, but the second was a big problem. Night Sorrow emphasized to Ho Jian and the others, as well as the blood-robed guards, that if they couldn't resist, they should retreat. After a few days of fighting, the dark creatures near the entrance were mostly cleared out. Night Sorrow also planned to deal with the dark zombie. Before going, Night Sorrow asked Qin Nan and Lei Hua for their opinions. In the end, everyone agreed that they should try their best to lure it out. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment and decided not to bring the blood-robed guards in. Instead, he brought Ho Jian, Nan Liyue, and the others in. If they could lure it out, they would be enough to cover their retreat. If they couldn't, then they would fight. Lei Zheng would look at the situation and call for reinforcements. After making preparations, Night Sorrow and the others entered the spatial tunnel. At this time, there were only a few dark creatures near the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow and the others casually cleared them out. Love Go Little Say W. Chew, you guys stand near the entrance and decide on a strategy based on the situation. If this guy is too strong, then you guys run out. If it's average, then we'll deal with it together. Lei Zheng, go call for reinforcements, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the dark zombie sitting on the side of the canyon. After speaking, Night Sorrow's body flashed and he approached the dark zombie. When Night Sorrow was 2 li away from the dark zombie, it stood up. Since there's no more fighting, then you can all die. The dark zombie roared and rushed forward, closing the distance between it and Night Sorrow. It brandished its blade and slashed at Night Sorrow. Run! Night Sorrow shouted and turned around to run. When he saw the dark zombie's blade, Night Sorrow knew that the strength of this attack had already exceeded the range of a rank 5 attack. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ho Jian and the others quickly retreated into the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow circulated the myriad Dao Tome's energy and poured it into his legs. He pushed the soaring dragon movement technique to the limit and ran towards the spatial tunnel in an arc. Behind him, crackling sounds could be heard. Those were the sounds of the blade lights slashing the ground. Night Sorrow relied on his soul strength to dodge. He could sense the dark zombie's waving arms and determine the direction and route of its attack. That was why he hadn't been killed. Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer to the spatial tunnel. However, the danger was also increasing because the dark zombie's speed was too fast. The dark zombie swung its blade at Night Sorrow as it chased after him. It was only 7 to 8 zhang away from Night Sorrow. While doing his best to escape, Night Sorrow also used his innate skill, Spatial Rend, to slow down the dark zombie's speed. Once the dark zombie blocked the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow would be in trouble. 2 consecutive spatial rends slashed at the dark zombie. Night Sorrow's body also drew an arc as he approached the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow's spatial rends were dodged by the dark zombie. However, it also slowed down the dark zombie's speed. At this time, the group outside the spatial tunnel had solemn expressions. When they heard Ho Jian say that the dark zombie's blade light could reach a distance of 20 zhang, Lei Hua and Qin Nan's expressions changed. This was not something a rank 5 cultivator could do. Half-step supremacy. Lei Hua and Qin Nan knew that this was a huge crisis for Night Sorrow. This dark zombie was very strong. If one did not mention its control over the energy of heaven and earth, its battle prowess would not be lower than a beginner supremacy. At this time, Wu Lingfei appeared at the spatial tunnel. She was wearing a white robe and a golden mask. Her body was surging with energy, ready to attack at any time. Night Sorrow rushed to the spatial tunnel. When he was just 2 steps away from entering, a pressure suddenly descended. Although it was not as strong as a supremacy's, it still affected Night Sorrow greatly. Affected by this pressure, Night Sorrow's body trembled. At this moment, Night Sorrow's Jin Qi and myriad Dao Tome's energy erupted to defend himself. He knew that he would definitely be attacked. Pung! With a muffled sound, Yi Shang's protective shield was shattered. His silver armor was also shattered, and broken pieces of armor flew everywhere. Following that, Night Sorrow's ice silk soft armor erupted with energy, blocking the dark zombie's attack. However, Night Sorrow's body was sent flying into the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow stumbled out of the spatial tunnel. Be on guard. Lei Hua flashed and appeared beside Night Sorrow. He pulled Night Sorrow back a distance. Chapter 408. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Everyone waited for a while, but the dark zombie didn't come out. If this bastard doesn't come out, then wouldn't I have suffered this for nothing? Night Sorrow said as he took off his tattered robe. GQ's latest, Chapter P and Y Section Z, Y7. This guy is too smart. It doesn't know the situation here, so it doesn't want to take the risk, Qin Nan said. Then what should we do? If it keeps blocking the spatial passageway, then we won't be able to do anything, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry. There's nothing that can't be solved. Commander Qin, guard this place. Don't let it suddenly come out and hurt people. Wu Lingfei said. She waved her arm and brought Night Sorrow back to her tent. According to the situation, that guy is a half-step venerable, so he can't use spatial shackles. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so easy for you to escape. Are you all right? Wu Lingfei asked Night Sorrow. I'm fine. Fortunately, I have the ice silk soft clothes that Auntie Fei gave me. Otherwise, I would really be finished. 2 of the protective silver armors were destroyed by me. Night Sorrow patted his chest, but when he saw his bare shoulders, he quickly took out a robe and put it on. Let Aunt Fei think about this matter and feel that it is impossible to not get this fellow out. Don't talk about you guys being at the peak of the 4th order. Even if you guys were at the peak of the 5th order, you would not be a match for that fellow. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, everyone has seen the situation today. This fellow has no intention of coming out. Night Sorrow said. That's because there's no reason for it to come out. If there is, then it will definitely come out. This thing will definitely be useful to it. Wu Lingfei took out a black crystal and threw it to Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei, what is this? Night Sorrow held the black crystal and asked. Death crystal, Auntie Fei got it before. This thing has never been useful, but now it is. Just keep it in your bosom. It will definitely sense it and chase after you. Wu Lingfei said. Then I'll try again later. Night Sorrow nodded. Don't worry, just tease it. As long as it comes out, it will definitely die. If it doesn't come out, once it evolves into a dark spirit corpse, it will have the memories of its past life. It will be even more troublesome, just like a human cultivator. At that time, it will be even smarter, said Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow nodded and returned to his tent. Ho Jian and the others were still in Night Sorrow's tent. Are you okay? Sikong Chuyu asked. It's nothing. I was just unlucky enough to be bombed again. I'll rest for a day and deal with it tomorrow, Night Sorrow said as he rubbed his shoulder. Although most of the attack was blocked by the ice silk soft clothes, it still hurt a little. Captain, that guy is a half-step martial saint. Why are you still going to take care of him? Have you been beaten, silly? Nan Liue asked. I didn't make it clear. I plan to get it out and let someone else kill it. Love go little say Night Sorrow said. It's obviously a smart guy. It won't come out easily, Yang Lei said. Wolves will always eat meat. It just depends on the size of the meat. You don't have to worry, Night Sorrow said. A moment later, Lei Hua and Qin Nan came. Qin Nan brought another set of silver soft armor. Give it back to me. I've already broken 2 sets. Let's just forget about it. Yi Shan was a little embarrassed. Night Sorrow knew that this silver soft armor was very valuable. It was a 5th-rank defensive armor. It was very difficult for a 5th-rank cultivation to break it. When he wore it, it was broken twice, both by martial saints and half-step martial saints. Take it. If you didn't carry it, who knows how many people would have died. Those 2 sets of soft armor are very valuable, Qin Nan said as he put down the silver soft armor. Then I'll take it. This way, I'll feel more confident when I go in tomorrow, Night Sorrow said. You still want to go in? That's a half-step martial saint dark zombie. Other than not being bound by space, its strength is no different from a martial saint, Qin Nan said with a frown. I'm going to lure it out. I'm not going to kill it, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then your safety is also a problem. Its attack strength is too high. A 4th-rank cultivator is like porcelain in front of it. It will break with a touch. Lei Hua was still a little worried. Don't worry. I won't be rash. I'll play with it at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. When it attacks me, I'll run. When it chases after me, my goal will be achieved, Night Sorrow said. Lei Hua and Qin Nan nodded. At this time, someone called the two of them and they left to deal with the matter. Captain, you heal first. We'll go back and rest, Ho Jian said. Then, the few of them left Night Sorrow's tent. 13. Who's that woman? Yang Lei asked. She's the Tower Lord of the Celestial Terminus Tower. She's also the senior I met at East Snow Mountain. She was the one who gave me my ice silk robe. Now, I call her aunt, said Yishang. You're really something. You can even do that. Hurry up and rest. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu said. For the past 2 days, the two of them had been patrolling the island, killing any dark creatures that slipped through the net. It hadn't been tiring for them. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow woke up early. After a night's rest, he had recovered very well. After putting on the silver soft armor, Night Sorrow went to the pit. Night Sorrow saw the 30 blood strike guards in the pit. Greetings, Captain. The blood strike guards bowed to Night Sorrow. Okay. You guys go and rest above the pit. After we deal with the dark zombie, we'll go in and fight together, Night Sorrow said. Yes. The blood-robed guards bowed once more to Yishang and withdrew from the pit. 13. You have to be careful. We'll wait for you outside, Sikong Chuyu said. Her trembling voice showed that she was very worried. A figure appeared out of thin air. Concubine Wu Lingfei appeared beside Yishang. She extended her hand and handed the bracelet of heaven and earth to Yishang. Try not to leave the spatial tunnel. It won't be able to do as it pleases inside. Okay, then I'll go in. Night Sorrow nodded and walked into the spatial tunnel. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow was very careful. He spread out his soul power and probed the situation in front of him. When he was a meter away from the exit, Night Sorrow found the dark zombie's location. It was meditating about 100 meters away from the spatial tunnel. Night Sorrow thought for a moment, then took a step out of the spatial passage. Next, he used his innate divine ability, a spatial rend. Then, he took a step back. The chaotic energy within the spatial tunnel would reduce the effectiveness of his attacks. Therefore, after Night Sorrow finished his attack, he returned to the spatial tunnel to avoid the dark zombie's energy suppression. Chapter 409. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. It sensed the aura of death on Night Sorrow's body. That was the energy it needed the most. If it could obtain it, then it would be much easier for it to enter the Exalt realm. After dodging Night Sorrow's space rend attack, the dark zombie charged towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his hands and shot out the sky-piercing spear with the ice dragon tendon attached to it. The dark zombie waved its blade and blocked twice, sending Yishang's sky-piercing spear flying. It then charged at Yishang. Night Sorrow immediately retreated. He wouldn't fight head-on with the dark zombie because they weren't on the same level. After entering the spatial passage, Night Sorrow returned to the space. For shots in the first round. Seeing that Night Sorrow had returned, the others were on high alert. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no movement from the spatial passage. How smart. I'll continue then, Night Sorrow said with a frown. Then, Night Sorrow entered the spatial tunnel again. Wu Lingfei glanced at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and said, You don't have to worry. As long as Night Sorrow stays in the spatial passage, or even stays within 30 feet of the spatial passage, I can guarantee his safety. Thank you, my lord. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. Thank you for your kindness. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. Once the other guy enters the space channel, I'll be able to catch him, Wu Lingfei said, full of confidence. After entering the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow released his soul power and slowly probed forward. When he was 4 feet away from the exit, Night Sorrow discovered the location of the dark zombie. This time, it was even closer. It was sitting cross-legged 5 feet away from the passageway. Night Sorrow held the death crystal in his left hand and activated it with his chi. Then, he took a step forward and sent out another space-rending slash at the dark zombie. The dark zombie stood up and took a step sideways before charging towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow quickly retreated. He felt that the dark zombie was serious this time. This time, it was as Night Sorrow expected. The dark zombie directly charged towards the spatial passage. The death energy was too tempting for it. The moment the dark zombie entered the spatial passage, Night Sorrow discovered that he was imprisoned by energy and was being pulled towards his people. At this moment, outside the spatial tunnel, Wu Lingfei's right hand reached out and grabbed at the air. Profound jade spirit chi formed a vortex that rushed into the spatial tunnel and pulled it back. You're still struggling after entering the spatial passage? Come out. With a roar, Wu Lingfei grabbed Night Sorrow and the dark zombie with her right arm. Commander Qin, go kill it. It's trash. While speaking, Wu Lingfei waved her arm and separated Yi Shang from the dark zombie. She pulled Yi Shang to her side and threw the dark zombie into the air. Then she spoke to Qin Nan. Qin Nan flew towards the dark zombie in the air. Aunt Fei, take this. It's not comfortable for me to hold it. Night Sorrow gave the death crystal to Wu Lingfei. Well done. This guy is finally dead. Love go little say W. Chu Wu Lingfei had been worried about this problem. This half-step venerable realm dark zombie was the key. If they didn't kill it, they wouldn't be able to explore the dark space. Qin Nan and the dark zombie fought in the air. After a few rounds, she killed the dark zombie. Qin Nan could easily kill a venerable realm dark creature, not to mention a half-step venerable realm zombie that couldn't use spatial bind. It was no match for her at all. Qin Nan put away the dark zombie's crystal core and handed it to Wu Lingfei. Okay, leave a few people here to guard. The rest and prepare for the second step of the plan. Wu Lingfei ordered. Night Sorrow had also returned to the tent. He was very happy that he had solved the problem of the dark zombies in 2 tries. Of course, he knew that this was due to Wu Lingfei's super strength. He didn't give the dark zombies a chance to retreat or regret. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow woke up early. He wanted to know what was going to happen next. He wanted to see what the City Lord's mansion and Tianji Tower had planned. Night Sorrow went to Wu Lingfei's tent. Lei Hua and Qin Nan were both there. Night Sorrow, the death space is very dangerous. You can go in or not. No one knows what's going on inside. There's also the possibility of encountering venerables and rank 5 dark creatures. Wu Lingfei said. I'll go in. Sometimes, hiding means fear. Cultivators can't be afraid. As long as they live, they will fight endlessly. Night Sorrow said. Okay, but you still have to be careful. You might not know, but one of the venerables of the Star Clouds sect has died in battle. The dark zombie is very strong. The 2 elders of the City Lord's mansion have already gone, so you can't underestimate it. Wu Lingfei said. A venerable died in battle? Qin Nan said with some surprise. That's why you have to pay attention to it. Night Sorrow, after you go in, if you have an opportunity to break through, then break through. That way, your strength will increase a little. Wu Lingfei emphasized the problem of advancement again. I understand. The dark space can't run away. The stronger we are, the stronger our ability to protect ourselves. Night Sorrow nodded. Night Sorrow, the blood-robed guards under your command are currently rank 4. However, their potential is not bad. Take good care of them. As for resources, Commander Qin will allocate them. Wu Lingfei arranged the blood-robed guards' affairs. Then, Lei Hua and Qin Nan left the tent. Night Sorrow, the situation in the death space is more complicated than you think. So, you must be careful. Remember the soul pearl I gave you. If you encounter a venerable opponent, crush it. Wu Lingfei mentioned the soul pearl. I'll remember. Night Sorrow nodded. Then go back and prepare. They also need to prepare some resources and some necessary supplies. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Then, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After drinking a cup of tea with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, Night Sorrow held the ice spirit blood essence and began cultivating. Currently, Night Sorrow's true qi cultivation base was unable to increase. He could only increase the myriad Dao's treasured tome and his spiritual strength. The strength of his spiritual strength directly affected the power of his bloodline abilities. The spatial crack attack required spiritual strength to guide its energy. That way, it could attack from a long distance with high accuracy. The cultivation of Yishang's soul power was different from the cultivation of Jin Qi and Myriad Tao Treasure Book. The cultivation of Myriad Tao Treasure Book had the assistance of Ice Spirit Blood Essence, while the cultivation of Jin Qi had the assistance of medicinal pills and spirit stones. However, the cultivation of soul power had to be done step by step. It was not to say that the cultivation of soul power didn't have any supplementary resources. The supplementary resources of soul power could only be found by chance. Whether it was the soul stone or the soul liquid, they were all legendary things. No one could predict what would happen in the death space. Increasing one's strength would increase one's chances. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the blood-robed guards' tents and left them some wine. Then he went to Wu Lingfei's tent. Chapter 410. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with interesting novels to read. My concentration of true qi is still a little lacking. There's no problem with controlling it. Night Sorrow said. Your situation is the opposite of others. Others would first achieve flawless concentration of true qi and then it would be difficult for them to control it to perfection. It seems like your foundation is really solid. In the past, the void inquiry stage was a test if your foundation was not solid enough. If your foundation is not solid enough, it will be difficult for you to reach the 5th level. It seems like you don't have any problems. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said. My master has reminded me that I can only take 2 pills at each level that can increase my cultivation base quickly. Night Sorrow said. Haste makes waste. Only by cultivating steadily can you go further on your path. You have cultivated your body well. The smoke of essence qi is 10 zhang * 3. 33 m per zhang. This is something that many people can't even dream of. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and nodded her head in satisfaction. The effect of the ice spirit blood essence is stronger. That's why the strength of my body is increasing faster. Night Sorrow checked the smoke of essence qi above his head and said. How's your cultivation of the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique? Wu Lingfei asked. The explosion of true qi can't keep up. Currently, I can only combine 4 spears into one. I can barely combine 5 spears into one, but the power is not as good as 4 spears into one. Night Sorrow said. Recently, he could barely combine 5 spears into one, but the effect was not as good as 4 spears into one. When you reach the 5th level, you will be able to perfectly combine 5 spears into one. When you reach the middle level, you will be able to combine 6 spears into one. When you reach the peak of the 5th level, you will be able to cultivate the 7-star brilliant moon spear technique to perfection. Wu Lingfei thought for a while and said. I understand. Night Sorrow nodded. You have done very well. The founder of this spear technique could only combine 3 spears into one when he was at the 4th level. He only managed to achieve perfection when he reached the Venerable Realm. Wu Lingfei shook her head and said. She was worried that Night Sorrow would give her too much pressure. Night Sorrow's cultivation base is a little low. I can't share your burden. Night Sorrow said apologetically. Don't say that. What are others like when they are 20 years old? What efforts have they made for the Eastern Xian region? You're already very good. If you continue like this, you'll be a banner of the Eastern Xian region in the future, said Wu Lingfei. I will do my best. Night Sorrow nodded. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while and gaining some knowledge, Night Sorrow returned to his tent and continued cultivating. After 3 days of quiet cultivation, it was time for Night Sorrow and the others to set off. Night Sorrow, Ho Jian, Lei Bao, and the 30 Bloodstrike guards arrived at the spatial tunnel. Qin Nan had the City Lord's Mansion's resource manager distribute some resources to Night Sorrow and the others. After you go in, you must advance steadily. Don't be rash. Safety comes first, Qin Nan said. Andi Fei, 9th senior sister, Chu Yu, we are going in. You don't have to worry. I entered the Void Fiend space when I was in core condensation. Now that I am at the peak of spirit severing stage, some difficulties will be easier to solve. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Wu Lingfei and comforted Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Then, he led the others into the death space. Everyone, confirm your position when you advance. If you get separated, you can all return. Also, I'll make some arrangements. The Bloodstrike Guard's vice captain, Xueling, will be in charge of the team if I'm not around. We'll go to Tianjin Tower and form a 5-man team. Ho Jian will be the vice captain. Night Sorrow made a series of arrangements. Then, the group began to advance. As they advanced, the battle began. There were many dark creatures in the death space. In a day's time, Yi Shang's group had advanced 100 kilometers before setting up camp. Everyone, work hard. If you have an opportunity to break through, let us know in advance. If you have the strength to break through, then break through. We have enough confidence, said Night Sorrow after setting up camp. He then set up a tent and sat down to cultivate. After waking up in the morning, Night Sorrow found a few people reporting to him that their companions were breaking through. During this period of time, some people in the team had been suppressing their cultivation. They were worried that they wouldn't be able to enter the spatial tunnel if they broke through. Now that they had decided to stay in the death space permanently, there was no need to suppress their cultivation. Ho Jian was also breaking through. This was what Lei Bao told Night Sorrow. He didn't tell him in advance because he didn't want Night Sorrow to worry. Emojio Fathi's situation made Night Sorrow very happy. They didn't lack time now, so it was naturally a good thing that they could break through. At noon, the news of successful breakthroughs came one after another. Ho Jian also successfully broke through. Liyue, you're almost there, right? Night Sorrow asked Nan Liyue. I'll be a few days later. If I knew, I would have rushed with them. I wouldn't have wasted everyone's time. Nan Liyue looked at Ho Jian and pouted. It's fine. You can break through tonight. The others also need to stabilize their cultivation, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Okay, I'll go now. What's so great about a rank 5? Nan Liyue glanced at Ho Jian again and entered the tent. I just don't understand. How did I provoke her? She's always targeting me. Ho Jian rubbed his head and said. You're really incorrigible. Captain, we're also going to cultivate. We're all brothers in the same team. Lei Zheng and I can't fall behind. Lei Bao pulled Lei Zheng to cultivate as well. Night Sorrow came to the Bloodstrike Guard's tent and clapped his hands to gather everyone. If any of you can break through and didn't make it last night, you can continue tonight. We'll camp here for a few days to solve this problem. After you're done, you can stabilize your cultivation, Night Sorrow said. After that, Yi Shan returned to his tent and began cultivating with the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. When others reached the 9th level of the Spirit Severing stage, they could only temper their true qi. However, Night Sorrow wasn't like that. His myriad Dao Tome, soul strength, and bloodline power were all improving. Moreover, there was a lot of room for improvement. He was increasing his strength every moment. After 3 days, the team was fully integrated. There were a total of 7 people who had advanced. There were 5 Bloodstrike Guards, and with Ho Jian and Nan Liyue, there were 7 people. The team's strength had increased by a large margin. No one looked down on or disrespected Night Sorrow just because their cultivation had advanced to the rank 5. Everyone knew that no matter who they were, even if they reached the rank 5, they wouldn't be enough in front of Night Sorrow. Advancing meant that there would be battles. After a period of training, everyone's cooperation in battle was very good. After advancing for another 2 days, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought when they set up camp at night. His true chi cultivation had reached the point where it couldn't be condensed. In other words, he could break through. He had the opportunity to do so. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow called Ho Jian and Xue Ling over and told them about his breakthrough. When they heard that Night Sorrow was about to break through, Ho Jian and Xue Ling's eyes lit up. For the past 2 days, they had been suppressing this matter in their hearts, waiting for Yi Shang to break through. Yi Shang was everyone's backbone. Only when Yi Shang's cultivation improved would everyone feel at ease. Chapter 411. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Advancing from the 4th grade to the 5th grade was a watershed for cultivators. What they needed to do was to break through to the void inquiry stage. They needed to disperse their pill beads and then refine them again to make them complete. This stage was as important as advancing from the essence gathering realm to the core condensation realm. It was the most important stage in a cultivator's cultivation journey. After meditating for a while, Night Sorrow began his breakthrough. The first thing he needed to do was to disperse his pill beads. Night Sorrow controlled his true chi and began to grind the pill beads. He wanted to grind them into powder and then refine them again. If he succeeds, he would enter the void inquiry stage, which allowed him to fly in the sky. If he fails, he would lose all his cultivation base. All his cultivation base would return to the earth. As Night Sorrow's true chi vibrated, his pill beads became smaller and smaller. The true chi in his dantian also became more turbulent. 4 hours later, the pill beads in Night Sorrow's dantian disappeared and turned into surging gelatinous true chi. The first step was completed. Night Sorrow had completed the first step of breaking through to the void inquiry stage. He needed to grind his pill beads. Next, he needed to refine them again. It was time to refine them again. The true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian had already been refined to the extreme. It was all surging gelatinous true chi. If his control over the true chi in his dantian was weak, it would be easy for his true chi to go berserk and explode his dantian. Controlling the true chi in his dantian, Night Sorrow began to compress it towards the center of his dantian. As Night Sorrow continued to compress, the pill beads reappeared in the center of Night Sorrow's dantian. It was a purple pill beads. The 2nd grade essence gathering realm to the 3rd grade core condensation realm was an ordinary pill bead. The 4th grade spiritual clone would also refine a pill bead when he advanced to the void inquiry stage. However, it was different from the ordinary pill beads of the core condensation realm. The pill beads he was refining now were of different attributes. It was completely different from the pill beads refined by the core condensation realm. After the purple pill beads appeared, Night Sorrow poured his gelatinous true chi into them to strengthen them. Time slipped away bit by bit. The surging true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian became less and less, and the dan bead also became bigger and bigger. 2 hours. 4 hours. 6 hours later, all of the true energy in Night Sorrow's dantian region was gone. It was all sucked into the violet medicinal pearl. At the moment when the true chi in Night Sorrow's dantian completely entered the dan bead, Night Sorrow's dan bead started to automatically rotate, at the same time releasing a light purple-colored true chi. Rank 5. Void Inquiry Stage. At this moment, Night Sorrow's cultivation base entered the 5th level of the Void Inquiry Stage. Outside the tent, Ho Jian and Xue Ling could finally relax. They had been very worried about Night Sorrow. Love go little say ku among the people who entered the death space, the failure of the others would only affect one of them. If Night Sorrow failed, the whole team would be affected. Night Sorrow was now the soul of the team. With Night Sorrow around, everyone would have a backbone. After successfully breaking through, Night Sorrow began to stabilize his cultivation base. Ho Jian and Xue Ling arranged for the others to continue to rest because Night Sorrow also needed some time to stabilize his cultivation base. And only 1/9L% I/9L all I is B Steel L version Y. Night Sorrow was experiencing the situation after entering the void inquiry stage. He realized that the true qi in his dantian was constantly rushing towards the top of his head. This was the true qi rushing towards the top of his head. The others had to take this opportunity to open up their divine sea. Night Sorrow's divine sea had already been opened, but he did not waste this opportunity to increase his true qi. He directly expanded his divine sea. After a while, Night Sorrow's divine sea had expanded by 1/3. However, it had also reached its limit. Since he could no longer expand his divine sea, Night Sorrow continued to stabilize his cultivation base. At noon, Night Sorrow came out of seclusion. He had completely stabilized his cultivation base at the 5th rank. Captain. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, the members of the blood-robed guards who were practicing and resting, as well as Ho Jian and the others, greeted him. My breakthrough was delayed for some time. Let's pack up and set off. Night Sorrow said. After the group took down the tents, they continued to move forward. When the dark creatures appeared, they would attack and kill them. The speed of their advance increased by a lot because everyone's strength had increased. Especially Night Sorrow, when he brandished his reincarnation spear, he could combine 5 spears into one. None of the dark creatures could withstand his attacks. Captain, your spear technique is too domineering. What spear technique is that? Lei Zheng, who was following beside Night Sorrow, asked. 7-star brilliant moon spear. I haven't mastered it yet. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You haven't mastered it yet? This is going to cost your life. Nan Liu lamented. She hadn't been able to take on Night Sorrow's spear technique. This fact made her realize that the gap between her and Night Sorrow hadn't closed just because she had advanced. Instead, the gap between the two of them had widened. During the night's rest, Night Sorrow upgraded his combat skills. First, he upgraded his movement technique. He upgraded the Soaring Dragon Steps to the Soaring Dragon Steps. The Soaring Dragon Steps wasn't just used for ground combat. It could also be used for aerial combat. While the others were resting, Night Sorrow cultivated his movement technique and combat skills. Not only did he upgrade his movement technique, but he also upgraded his Covering Sky hand and upgraded the Energy Destroying hand to the Earth Shaking hand. While Night Sorrow cultivated, Ho Jian, Lei Bao, Lei Zheng and Nan Liu drank tea. The Blood Strike guards camped on the other side. After all, the two groups weren't of the same order. One group belonged to Tianji Tower, while the other came from the City Lord's mansion. Ordinary cultivators would feel reverence or fear when they saw the people from the Empyrean Terminus Tower. However, this didn't apply to the Blood Strike guards. They were all prideful and had undergone strict training at the City Lord's mansion. Not only had they strengthened their cultivation, but they had also strengthened their minds. Ho Jian shook his head as he watched Night Sorrow cultivate. After we advanced, our combat strength increased a lot. However, it's definitely not as abnormal as his. Mid-stage 5th order cultivation isn't necessarily his match. Perhaps only late-stage 5th order cultivators can suppress him. Ho Jian said. Yes, there's no need to be jealous. Look at how he cultivates. The effort he puts in is completely different, Lei Bao said. Night Sorrow cultivated all his combat skills once before going to Ho Jian's side to drink tea. Captain, your strength has increased a lot again, Lei Bao said. I still have tranquility pills here. Do you need them? Night Sorrow saw that Lei Bao and Lei Zheng's cultivation had increased to the 7th stage of the spirit severing stage. We have tranquility pills. We plan to stabilize our cultivation first before eating them, Lei Bao said. I'm also an alchemist. I can refine pills. If you have any needs, just tell me, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. Captain, what kind of pills can you refine? Nan Liu asked curiously. I can refine pills below 5th order. I haven't tried refining pills above 5th order yet. I need to practice, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Too shameless. I found that there's nothing Captain can't do, Lei Zhang said while shaking his head. Our Medicine Valley is a sect that specializes in alchemy. There's nothing strange about me being able to refine pills, right? Night Sorrow still had one thing that he didn't mention, and that was that the Medicine Valley's refining standards weren't low either. After advancing, Night Sorrow found that the reincarnation spear could withstand 5th order true qi. This proved that the reincarnation spear was a 5th order weapon. This also made Night Sorrow extremely happy because he didn't have to consider changing weapons. Changing weapons was a very troublesome matter. The most important thing was that Night Sorrow had a very deep relationship with the reincarnation spear. Chapter 412. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That's true. In the future, not only will you be a cultivation expert, but you'll also be an alchemy grandmaster. Nan Liues said with some emotion. Don't be so emotional. In the future, if you want to refine any pills, I can refine them without a problem. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's a great thing to know an alchemy grandmaster. Nan Liues nodded with a smile. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow returned to his own tent to meditate and cultivate. He did not consume any spiritual essence of origin. His quintessential qi cultivation had just advanced, so he had to prioritize stability. He was now cultivating with the ice spirit blood essence in his hands. He wanted to speed up the cultivation of the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome. He wanted to raise the cultivation level of the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome to the 5th tier and to the Tao-seeking realm. As for the Tao querying realm required for the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome, Night Sorrow had no idea. He intended to reach the Tao querying realm first. After a night of cultivation, the group continued on their journey. Night Sorrow was at the front, and whenever he saw any dark creatures, he would shoot them 5 times with his spear, killing them instantly. Captain, you should go to the back. If you do this, we won't even have a chance to practice our combat skills, Xueling said. That's what I'm thinking too. You can kill at the front, and we'll be fine at the back. So, Captain, you should rest at the back. If there's someone we can't handle, you'll go up. Ho Jian opened his mouth and said. You're reading on novel full thanks, Ho Jian said. All right. You guys lead the way, I'll bring up the rear, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then, Xueling and Ho Jian took the lead while Night Sorrow followed behind. With nothing else to do, Night Sorrow let Tianyu out for some fresh air. At this time, Tianyu was already at the peak of rank 4, level 6. His beak, claws, and feathers were all glowing with light. He was very handsome. Seeing Night Sorrow's mount, the Bloodstrike guards were envious. Their mounts were blood pheasant eagles. Everyone had the same mount. This kind of mount could be developed to the peak of tier 4 and was raised by Dongxian City's City Lord Manor. Over the next few days, everything was quiet. They had also advanced 1,000 miles, so Night Sorrow had no chance to make a move. Baidu search AI go female sign shall say www.aichuxs.com. After setting up camp again, Night Sorrow fed Tianyu a beast pill. Currently, the beast vitality pill was of no help to Tianyu's cultivation. It was only able to solve the problem of his diet. After settling Tianyu's issue, Night Sorrow went back to his tent to cultivate. Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guard, admired his diligence the most. After entering the death space, Night Sorrow spent almost all of his energy on cultivation. In the middle of the night, Night Sorrow woke up with a start. His intuition had instinctively sensed danger. Be on guard. Night Sorrow roared as he rushed out of his tent. Following Night Sorrow's roar, Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guard, gathered together and prepared for battle. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in the sky. Thanks to the moonlight, everyone could clearly see that it was a humanoid shadow with a tail behind it. It was a humanoid demonic beast. A humanoid demonic beast whose cultivation base couldn't be seen clearly. Normally, demonic beasts that entered the Tier 6 Clear Sky realm, which was the Venerate realm, would be able to take on a humanoid form. However, some demonic beasts chose to take on a humanoid form after entering the Tier 5 Clear Sky realm. Everyone retreat. After giving the order, Night Sorrow rushed forward to the front of the group. The humanoid dark demonic beast landed not too far away from Night Sorrow and the others. Tier 5 cultivators and demonic beasts could fight in the air. However, there was no ground beneath their feet, so it wasn't as convenient as fighting on the ground. Thanks to the moonlight, Night Sorrow could see that the humanoid demonic beast's tail was as thick as a human head and had reflective scales on it. This proved that this humanoid demonic beast was a serpent-type demonic beast. While Night Sorrow was sizing up this fellow, the dark serpent charged at Night Sorrow. Its scaled fists were aimed directly at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow pondered for a moment. Then, his true chi and the myriad Tao Tome's energy erupted and he blasted out a breaking killing fist at the dark serpent. Since he couldn't see the dark serpent's cultivation base, he wanted to test this fellow's strength and decide on a battle strategy. Bang! With a loud explosion, Night Sorrow's body was sent flying by the impact. His right arm trembled uncontrollably, while the dark serpent only took 2 steps back. You can't fight it. This fellow's cultivation base is above the mid-5th stage. Retreat. Either you leave this space or go to the entrance of the space tunnel to investigate. Night Sorrow roared and charged at the dark serpent. This time, Night Sorrow took out his reincarnation spear and executed the 7-star dazzling moon spear to the extreme. He attacked the dark serpent. Captain, let's try again. Xue Ling and the others weren't willing to leave Night Sorrow behind and retreat. They immediately stepped forward and attacked the dark serpent. However, the effect was different from Night Sorrow's. Night Sorrow could still fight, but they were all sent flying by the dark serpent's attacks. The blood-robed guards, Ho Jian, and the others couldn't break through the dark serpent's protective shield. The dark serpent didn't care about the attacks. Its palms turned into sharp claws and attacked Ho Jian, Xue Yi, and the others. After a while, 7 or 8 people were injured. Ho Jian, Xue Ling, take the others and retreat. This is an order. Night Sorrow roared. He waved his reincarnation spear and pushed it in front of the dark serpent, giving the others a chance to retreat. Tianyu, which Night Sorrow didn't put away, also pounced at the dark serpent. This was the dark serpent's innate talent. It wasn't afraid of demonic beasts of a higher level than itself. No matter how high its level was, it wouldn't be able to suppress it. It could fight. This guy's cultivation must be at the late stage of the 5th rank. What will you do if we retreat? Nan Liu shouted. What can I do? Of course I'll run. You guys hurry up and retreat. I'll be exhausted later and won't be able to escape even if I want to. Stop talking nonsense and retreat quickly. Night Sorrow was a little anxious. The dark serpent's ability was too strong. Every time it attacked, there was a violent sound of energy breaking through the air. Captain, be careful. Ho Jian, the others, and the blood-robed guards shouted to Night Sorrow and began to retreat. The team will be led by Xue Ling and Ho Jian. You two communicate. Night Sorrow gave another order. *L original P/version V initial L release 7 Night Sorrow circled around the dark python and quickly shot out his spear, entangling the dark python and preventing it from attacking or chasing others. Ho Jian's group and the Blood Strike guards quickly disappeared into the night. At this moment, Night Sorrow decided to run. He knew that he had no chance of defeating this dark flood serpent. The difference between them was too great. The best solution was to run. It was reckless and irrational to continue fighting even if one couldn't win. After shouting at Tianyu to take off, Night Sorrow fired a powerful shot at the dark serpent. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow was forced back. Taking advantage of the distance, Knight Sorrow used his innate skill, Space Rend, to slash at the dark serpent. Then, he flew and grabbed Tianyu's sharp claws with his left hand. He then put away his reincarnation spear and shot the ice serpent's sky-piercing spear at the dark serpent, forcing it to retreat. Knight Sorrow planned to use Tianyu's speed to escape. Cultivators and demonic beasts that had reached the 5th rank could fly. However, there were differences in speed. Demonic beasts that couldn't fly wouldn't necessarily be as fast as 4th rank flying demonic beasts even if they reached the 5th rank. This was an innate skill. Chapter 413. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Knight Sorrow grabbed Tianyu's claws with his left hand and the sky-piercing spear with the ice serpent's tendon in his right hand. He was waiting for an opportunity to attack. After the first attack, the distance between him and the dark serpent was a bit too far. It wasn't that Knight Sorrow's sky-piercing spear couldn't hit the dark serpent. If the ice serpent's tendon wasn't tied, then Knight Sorrow's sky-piercing spear could shoot very far and cause a lot of damage. However, he wouldn't be able to get it back. Knight Sorrow didn't want to lose the sky-piercing spear. Plus, there wasn't much danger right now. This dark serpent was very strong, but there was still a big gap between it and the half-step Venerable Realm Dark Zombie. The distance and strength of its energy attack couldn't threaten Tianyu and Knight Sorrow. Seeing that the distance was safe, Knight Sorrow exerted force with his left arm. His body drew a semicircle and landed on Tianyu's back. Standing on Tianyu's back and looking at the dark serpent, Knight Sorrow felt relieved. The dark serpent wasn't fast enough to catch up to Tianyu. Tianyu, let's circle around it. After observing for a while, Knight Sorrow realized that the dark serpent's speed was indeed its weakness. Since it couldn't catch up to Tianyu, then it could rely on speed. Hearing Knight Sorrow's order, Tianyu began to fly in circles. Knight Sorrow took the opportunity to shoot the sky-piercing spear at the dark serpent. 2 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent's tendons weren't enough. Knight Sorrow took out his remaining 3 ice serpent's tendons and tied them to his left arm. He shot them at Knight Sorrow, who was chasing Tianyu. He wanted to use up the dark serpent's energy shield. The dark serpent's speed was not as fast as Tianyu's, so it could only fall behind and take a beating. This made it roar angrily. In its eyes, Knight Sorrow and Tianyu were just small fries, but now it was being beaten up. The enraged dark serpent began to wildly unleash energy attacks. However, the effects weren't great. Under Knight Sorrow's command, Tianyu's body was extremely nimble. The dark serpent's energy attacks couldn't reach Tianyu. Look at the L version, chapter R on why. This was a situation that Knight Sorrow was happy to see. The dark serpent had expended a lot of energy by using such a powerful attack. As for his and Tianyu's consumption, Knight Sorrow wasn't worried at all. He had the spiritual elixir of origin and was rich. The problem of consumption didn't exist for Knight Sorrow. Tianyu flew in circles while Knight Sorrow threw the sky-piercing spear continuously to attack the dark serpent's protective barrier. After an hour, Knight Sorrow gave Tianyu a drop of spiritual elixir of origin so that Tianyu was in peak condition. He also took a drop himself. He had been using all kinds of energy techniques to throw the sky-piercing spear to wear down the dark serpent's protective barrier. His consumption wasn't small either. Baidu search AI go xiao shuo www.ai2x. While Knight Sorrow and Tianyu had expended a lot of energy, the dark serpent wasn't much better off. Its protective barrier was already shaking, and more than half of its abundant true qi had been used up. Knight Sorrow's sky-piercing spear, which carried a spiraling force, shattered the dark serpent's protective barrier. Seeing the dark serpent's protective barrier shatter, Knight Sorrow's hands shook, and the sky-piercing spear began to throw continuously. Compared to the beginning of the battle of attrition, the attack speed and power had increased. Baidu search AI go xiao shuo www.ai2x. Come in the beginning, it was a battle of attrition. Now, it was a battle of attrition. Night Sorrow's strategy was naturally different. The dark serpent's temper was extremely bad. It waved its claws to block the sky-piercing spears. As it waved its arms, the sky-piercing spears were all sent flying. However, its arms were left with many bloody wounds from the sky-piercing spears. After a while, the scales on the dark serpent's arms disappeared, and in some places, white bones were exposed. The battle raged. Night Sorrow inserted the 5 sky-piercing spears with ice serpent tendons into his waist and leaped towards the dark serpent. The dark serpent's energy was almost depleted, but Night Sorrow was not afraid. He directly leaped from Tianyu's back and charged towards the dark serpent. At the same time, his true chi exploded as he used the 7-star brilliant moon spear. At this moment, if he could not win, Night Sorrow could also shoot the bone-rotting poison needles. When the dark serpent had its protective barrier, the poison needles were ineffective. Now, the dark serpent's protective barrier had been shattered. Seeing Night Sorrow fighting in close combat, the dark serpent roared and raised its right claw, slapping towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Creak! Night Sorrow was forced back, but the dark serpent was not in a good state either. The scales in the center of its claw were shaken off, and there was a large bloody hole in its claw. After succeeding in one move, Night Sorrow endured the recoil and continued to charge towards the dark serpent. The man and the beast began to fight head-on. Night Sorrow's cultivation was low, but he was currently at his peak. The dark serpent's cultivation was high, but it had consumed a lot of energy. It could only display 30% to 40% of its strength. After a series of explosions, Night Sorrow's forehead was covered in sweat, and his arms were trembling uncontrollably. The dark serpent was in an even worse state. Its arms were already badly mutilated. If it was not for its innate talent and strong body, its arms would have been cut off. Feeling that he had consumed a lot of energy, Night Sorrow flew back to Tianyu's back and took another drop of Origin spiritual liquid to recover. Tianyu flew around the dark serpent and took the opportunity to attack. A moment later, Night Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow jumped up from Tianyu's back and charged towards the dark serpent again. This was a battle of attrition. Tianyu was fast and was already in an undefeatable position. Night Sorrow had nothing to worry about and gave up on shooting the poison needles. The sky was already bright. Even if they fought until nightfall, Night Sorrow would be able to hold on. This time, Night Sorrow finally had some results. In close combat, Night Sorrow used the earth-shaking hand and knocked away the dark serpent's left claw. However, Night Sorrow was also forced back, and the blood in his chest became unstable. When Night Sorrow returned to Tianyu's back and was about to rest, the dark serpent began to run. It had a violent temperament, but at this point in the battle, it knew that it would not have a good ending if it continued. Run? After fighting for half the night, how could Night Sorrow let it run away? Wouldn't that be a waste of time? Night Sorrow rode Tianyu and began to give chase. The sky-piercing spear was constantly shot at the dark serpent. At this time, about 200 miles away from Night Sorrow, the Blood Strike Guards and Ho Jian were deep in thought. Vice Captain, we can't lose the captain, right? What face do we have left? Xue Fei said. What do you guys plan to do? Xue Ling asked Ho Jian. The dark serpent is very strong, but it shouldn't be a problem for the captain to retreat. I'm just worried that the captain won't be able to find us, Ho Jian said. Let's go and take a look. Just waiting like this makes me feel uneasy. I regret listening to him and retreating. That was too disloyal, Lei Bao said regretfully. It's not your fault. Following orders is the most important thing in a team battle. Let's go and take a look, Ho Jian said. Chapter 414. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Demonic beasts had strong bodies, and a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the dark serpent didn't have a protective shield, it still had some protective energy. Night Sorrow couldn't deal a fatal blow to it. Night Sorrow's crisis had been completely resolved. The dark serpent had lost half of its arm and claws, so it didn't have much strength to fight back. Moreover, it was already scared of Night Sorrow, so it just ran away. It didn't have any intention of fighting back. Night Sorrow and Tianyu took charge and chased after the dark serpent. The dark serpent was running away, getting further and further away from the original battlefield. After an hour, the dark serpent was hundreds of miles away. It just kept running and didn't choose a direction. At this moment, the Blood Strike Guards and Ho Jian's group of 4 had returned to the place where they had encountered the dark serpent. Stupid. Section AQ above C. Why is the ground covered in blood? Where is the captain? Lei Bao's eyes turned red when he saw the blood on the ground. Why are you in such a hurry? Calm down. The smell of blood is very strong, and there are also broken scales. This proves that the injured dark serpent isn't the captain, Nan Liuai yelled at Lei Bao. Yes, the battle was very intense. There are no corpses here. It seems like there was a chase, and the victor was the captain, Xue Ling said after surveying the battlefield. That's good. If anything happened to the captain, I would never be able to forgive myself, Lei Bao said. Let's wait here. Xue Ling said. Night Sorrow rode on Tianyu and chased after the dark serpent, constantly attacking it. The dark serpent was running for its life, so its potential was revealed. Even though its back was almost pierced by the sky-piercing spear, it didn't stop. Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong. The direction the dark serpent was running in was very rich with dark energy, or rather, death energy. In such an environment, it was easy for other heaven-defying dark creatures to be born. Night Sorrow was worried, so he decided to end the battle quickly. He controlled Tianyu to increase his speed and overtook the dark serpent. He then jumped off Tianyu's body and waved his reincarnation spear. The reincarnation spear was imbued with vibrational force. The dark flood dragon snake swung its right claw towards the reincarnation spear. Wang! A strong vibrating sound was heard. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear exploded with vibrating energy, shaking off the dark dragon snake's right claw. Then, Night Sorrow raised his hand, and the reincarnation spear pierced into the dark dragon snake's neck. Next, he swung his hands horizontally and chopped off the dark dragon snake's head. After ending the battle, Night Sorrow opened up the dark serpent's abdomen and collected the core. The cores and cores of demonic beasts and cultivators were usually in the abdomen or head. Night Sorrow felt that the dark dragon snake's energy source was in its abdomen, so he was sure that the dark dragon snake's core was in its abdomen. Night Sorrow then cut off the dark dragon snake's tail and right claw. These were all treasures. There were also 2 night luminescent pearls, which also had the effect of detoxification. After collecting these, Night Sorrow began to survey the area in front of him. The death energy ahead was very dense, but Night Sorrow felt that there was something in this death energy that was attracting him. Night Sorrow fed Tianyu a drop of spiritual liquid and let it rest in the beast-taming space. He continued to move forward. In the death energy, Night Sorrow's vision was blocked, so his visibility was very low. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow released his soul power to investigate. This was the benefit of having soul power. Night Sorrow's soul power could cover a radius of 2 miles. Moreover, it was a coverage without any blind spots. It was much more effective than vision. Love Go Little Say Netku relying on his soul power to investigate, Night Sorrow slowly moved forward. Although he could detect if there were any dark creatures within a radius of 2 miles, he was still worried. If a dark creature with a stronger soul power discovered him before he could detect it, he would be in trouble. He advanced step by step. After advancing for 5 kilometers, Night Sorrow found the place that attracted his attention. It was a call 2 kilometers ahead. The place that caused Night Sorrow's special feeling was this kernel. However, Night Sorrow's soul power could not detect it because there was a strong energy interference. After entering the call, Night Sorrow was stunned. At the same time, he was a little depressed. There were a lot of death crystals in this call, but they were useless to him because their attributes were not compatible. Night Sorrow thought for a while and felt that it was necessary to dig them up. He did not need them, but he could exchange them. After all, they were attribute crystals. Holding the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow began to dig. He followed the principle of not letting go of good things. Even if he gave it to Tianji Tower, he could still exchange it for some resources. As he dug, the death crystals entered Night Sorrow's storage ring. After digging for a while, Night Sorrow was tired. He took out a jar of wine and drank a mouthful. At this time, Night Sorrow discovered that there was a flash of light not far ahead. As he walked closer, Night Sorrow rubbed his eyes. He was afraid that his eyes were playing tricks on him. In the middle of the death crystals, there was a corpse sitting cross-legged. The corpse was surrounded by milky white crystals, followed by black death crystals. As Night Sorrow walked forward, the corpse was instantly turned into ashes because of the air fluctuation caused by Night Sorrow. A storage ring also fell to the ground. Night Sorrow went forward and picked up the storage ring. He then observed the milky white crystals around him. Soul crystals. Yishan discovered that this milky white crystal contained extremely dense soul energy. It was the most precious of all the attribute crystals. It was a soul crystal that was more valuable than any other crystal. Even the top-tier destruction crystals and void crystals, as well as the high-tier life crystals and death crystals, couldn't compare to a soul stone. Attribute crystals needed to correspond to a cultivator's own attribute, while soul stones were needed by all cultivators and could be used. Of course, this only applied to cultivators at Tier 5 and above who could cultivate soul power. Holding the sky-piercing spear, Night Sorrow began to dig. Night Sorrow was excited. This was a treasure that could solve a big problem. After digging for a while, Night Sorrow dug out over 300 pieces of soul crystals. He did not even let go of the small pieces. Night Sorrow then started to dig at the death crystals in the canyon. At the same time, Night Sorrow also pondered the reason for the formation of soul crystals and death crystals. As he pondered, Night Sorrow came to a realization. The formation of these death crystals and soul crystals had something to do with the corpse from before. Night Sorrow suspected that the corpse belonged to a cultivator with the death attribute. Due to the corpse's death, its energy and soul power had scattered, forming death crystals and soul crystals. After digging out all the crystals, Night Sorrow checked again and again to make sure that he did not miss anything. He then retreated from the valley and left this special area. He then released Tianyu and rushed towards the battlefield. What Night Sorrow did not know was that while he was flying with Tianyu, Ho Jian's group and the blood-robed guards had retreated. They planned to wait for Night Sorrow near the entrance. Chapter 4:15. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? I'll provide you with some interesting novels to read. Night Sorrow's soul power wrapped around the silver-gray, ancient storage ring for a moment. Then, a special space appeared. What a big space! Night Sorrow was shocked. The space in this storage ring was more than 10 times bigger than the storage rings left behind by Feng Chen and Lu Shan. Just as Night Sorrow was about to check what was in the storage ring, a wave of energy appeared. Tianyu extended his wings, but he couldn't retract them. Everything became still. Then, an energy figure appeared in front of Tianyu. The energy figure was wearing a long robe made of coarse cloth. He had a head of white hair that reached his shoulders. His eyes were fixed on Night Sorrow. This figure was exactly the same as the corpse. Night Sorrow couldn't be more shocked. Time is like a knife. You're not bad, young man. Unfortunately, you don't have the death attribute, the old man said. As the old man spoke, Night Sorrow realized that he could move again. However, Tianyu and the space around him were still. Junior didn't mean to offend Senior. It's just that the corpse has been weathered and can't be buried. Night Sorrow was sure that the old man had something to do with the corpse. Since I'm already dead, the corpse is just a bag of skin. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. This remnant of my soul has always been in the storage ring. It was your soul power that awakened this remnant of my soul, the old man said. Senior, do you have any last wishes that I can fulfill? Night Sorrow asked. That's right. This storage ring was left behind by yours truly. Within it is yours truly's legacy. If you can promise to find a legacy for yours truly's skill, then yours truly's legacy will be yours. If you can't, then yours truly will shatter this storage ring, the old man said. However, Senior, you should know that it is very difficult to encounter a cultivator with the death attribute. Even if you do encounter a cultivator with the death attribute, it will depend on their temperament. If a cultivator with a bad temperament were to obtain Senior's legacy, it would be a disaster. Thus, I would rather destroy this storage ring than make a careless promise, said Night Sorrow after some thought. You're right to think that way. As long as you promise to pass down my secret codex of death to a suitable cultivator of the death attribute, that will do, said the old man. Senior, don't worry. I can do that, Night Sorrow said. That's fine. The resources in this storage ring are all yours. You can also study the secret codex of death. Additionally, there are some medicinal pills with the death attribute in this storage ring. I hope you can leave them for that disciple of mine whom I have yet to meet. The old man sighed. At the same time, his energy figure dimmed slightly. I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. Good. Truth be told, I like you more. However, you possess the void attribute. I will not lead you astray. After hearing Night Sorrow's promise, the old man nodded his head in satisfaction. Senior, you flatter me. If there is anything else you need me to do, please tell me. If I can help, I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. Then, help me with one more thing. I am from the Western Underworld. The sect I belong to is the Dark Island. If you have time, go to the Dark Island and have a look. You can write a copy of my secret codex of death and send it to the Dark Island. If my sect is destroyed, then forget it. There is no need for you to deliberately go. You can go whenever it is convenient, said the old man. Western Underworld? Is it the Western Underworld region? Night Sorrow asked. What Western Underworld region? Asked the old man in return. The Western Underworld region of the 9 regions and 18 states. I have never heard of a place called the Western Underworld, Night Sorrow said. 9 regions and 18 states? Western Underworld region. I do not know. Tell me, said the old man after pondering for a moment. Night Sorrow began to talk about the history and current situation of the 9 regions and 18 states. That war back then should be the war of investiture. Sigh. Even if I die, it will not change anything. That was not the last war. When the 9 regions and 18 states prosper again and reach a new peak, such a war will happen again. After speaking, the old man's figure began to fade. Senior, how can I help you? Night Sorrow was a little anxious. When the energy dissipated, the old man would disappear as well. This is a strand of my soul. When the power of my soul is exhausted, everything will end. The old man shook his head. Night Sorrow took out a soul crystal and tossed it over, hoping it would be of help to the old man. When the soul crystal reached the old man's hand, it instantly turned into a pale white stone. The old man's energy body stabilized a little. Haha. This is the power of my origin after I died. After being refined by the energy of heaven and earth, it became a soul crystal. In fact, you don't need to know too much. If you know too much, it will create pressure. The so-called war of investiture is actually a war between a group of people who are unwilling to be suppressed and want to break the shackles, said the old man. Senior, why are there so many dark creatures in this space? Night Sorrow asked. In the war back then, I was worried that the mountains and rivers of the Western Underworld region would be damaged, so I shattered the space barrier between the dark space and the 9 regions world you speak of. I fought with my opponent in this dark space. Perhaps the 9 regions world was shattered, and some of the mountains, rivers, and earth entered here. Some of the corpses buried in the mountains, rivers, and earth mutated. The old man thought for a moment and explained. Then I understand. Senior died for the 9 regions world. If there is anything else you want me to do, I will definitely do it, Night Sorrow said. At the same time, he tossed another soul crystal to the old man. There is nothing else. There's nothing else. By the way, my opponent back then was a life attribute saint. She was struck by my soul destruction / and should have died here as well. Search for her, you might be able to find something. She was heavily injured and should have left in the direction of the east. Remember, she's an insidious and cunning person, the old man said. Senior, is there no way to recover? Seeing that the soul crystal couldn't bring back the old man's figure, Night Sorrow was a little anxious. There is no such possibility. Everything is over, but isn't it also a new beginning, said the old man with a smile. A new beginning? Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. I, the Dark Spirit Saint, am not so easy to be completely destroyed. I have kept a wisp of my soul in the storage ring for so many years to gather soul fragments in preparation for today, to prepare for reincarnation. Your soul power is full of vitality. Under the stimulation of your soul, I can now do this, said the old man. Reincarnation. Can it really be reincarnated? Night Sorrow was a little surprised. When you reach a certain level, you will understand some of the principles of heaven and earth. Immortality can be cultivated. It is possible to control the power of reincarnation. The road of cultivation is really long and endless, the old man said with a sigh. After saying that, the old man waved his right hand and a spatial crack appeared. Look at F*** version A. Chapter S Section T Upper FJ. Night Sorrow looked at the old man in shock. Chapter 4:16. Genius 1 second. Remember love / go / little. I will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Watching the spatial crack slowly close, Night Sorrow was stunned for a long time. He was shocked. Was this the method of a powerhouse? If the soul was not destroyed, it could be reincarnated. Dark Soul Saint. Night Sorrow remembered this name. He also knew that this was once a peerless powerhouse. Night Sorrow calmed himself down. He steered Tianyu toward the place where he had encountered the dark dragon snake and continued to search for the resources left behind by the Dark Soul Saint. The Dark Soul Saint's storage ring was ridiculously large. The resources were also very rich. There were hundreds of high-grade crystals, ores, and alchemy materials. In the middle of the storage ring, Night Sorrow saw a table with 2 ancient books on it. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and took out the ancient books. The first book was the Dark Soul Saint's Inheritance, the Death Secret Codex, and the other was the Battle Skill Soul Extinguishing / Seeing these 3 words, Night Sorrow was shocked. The Dark Soul Saint had said that his opponent should have been hit by his soul extinguishing / and died in this space. +% version HV first 7. Flipping open the ancient book, Night Sorrow's hands couldn't help but tremble. The soul extinguishing / was not a true energy battle skill, but a soul battle skill. Night Sorrow had never heard of a soul battle skill. Night Sorrow didn't need a true energy battle skill now because he had mastered enough battle skills. He just needed to continue cultivating and increasing his maturity. However, he needed a soul battle skill. He had never heard of anyone who had mastered it. Love go / little say / little, chew. After taking a look, Night Sorrow closed the ancient book. The soul extinguishing / was aimed at the enemy Spirit Sea. It specialized in attacking the soul, but the requirements were harsh. It required the soul to be in a liquid state. However, Night Sorrow's soul was still in a gaseous state, so he couldn't cultivate it. He steered Tianyu back to the place where he had encountered the dark dragon snake. However, Night Sorrow didn't see anyone because Ho Jian and the Bloodstrike guards had retreated to the spatial passage. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and decided to follow the Dark Soul Saint's instructions and find the life saint he had killed. Night Sorrow followed the Dark Soul Saint's instructions and headed east. Night Sorrow was looking forward to what the life saint had left behind. Night Sorrow steered Tianyu towards the east. Night Sorrow saw many darkness demons along the way, including rank 5 ones. However, they weren't as fast as the Tianyu and were left far behind. Night Sorrow searched for 3 days in the area the Dark Soul Saint had pointed out, but he still didn't find anything. Baidu search AI go female sign shao say www.aichuxs. Sim Night Sorrow wasn't in a hurry. He didn't have a time limit this time, so he could slowly search. Night Sorrow slowly expanded his search area. On the 5th day, Night Sorrow discovered a special area thousands of miles away from the valley where the Dark Soul Saint had fallen. It was overflowing with greenery, clearly different from other areas. After putting away Tianyu, Night Sorrow headed forward to investigate. The situation in this area was a bit special. There weren't any dark creatures here, and the demon beasts had turned into ordinary demon beasts. However, they were all very strong. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow had already killed 2 early stage 5th rank demon beasts. Night Sorrow then arrived in front of a very shallow pool. There was a mountain rock in the middle of the pool, and a female corpse in a green dress was sitting cross-legged on the mountain rock. There were many green energy crystals in the pool below her, but there weren't any soul crystals like Night Sorrow had found beside the Dark Soul Saint's corpse. This made Night Sorrow feel a bit strange. Night Sorrow walked around the pool and found that there was a dense life force aura here. Moreover, it didn't seem to have any intention of spreading, but was condensed together. It could be said that the water in the pool was filled with spirit chi. There was a green liquid in the middle of a rock that was exposed above the water surface. It was life spirit liquid. After investigating for a while, Night Sorrow didn't find anything strange. He reached out and touched the green energy crystal in the pool. Bang! Night Sorrow felt his hand touch an energy wall, and a strong rebounding force sent him flying. Holding on to the ground, Night Sorrow stood up. At this moment, the head of the female corpse on the mountain rock in the pool began to glow. Then, an oval-shaped crystal rose from the top of her head, and an energy halo flashed. In the blink of an eye, a female energy body in a green dress appeared in Night Sorrow's line of sight. Night Sorrow took a step back, and his right hand touched the reincarnation spear. He found that this female's energy body was much more condensed than the Dark Soul Saint's. Void attribute, it's actually the void attribute. Is this an opportunity? The female energy body in a green dress sized up Night Sorrow and muttered to herself. Who are you? Night Sorrow opened his mouth and asked. I sealed this place, sealed myself, and waited for the day when a furnace with a pure soul would appear. You just entered the rank 5, but your soul power is not weak. Very good. The female energy body in a green dress said. What do you mean? Night Sorrow felt that something was wrong. The way the female looked at him was as if she was looking at a prey, a treasure. I'll explain it to you. I was injured in a battle in the past, and in order to protect my soul source, I gave up my physical body. At the same time, I sealed the energy here so that it wouldn't spread. I was waiting for a suitable furnace to appear. I can use the furnace to recultivate. Do you understand? The female's eyes flashed as she checked on Night Sorrow's situation. You mean to take over my soul, but you have to know that I don't have the life attribute. If you take over my body, your attributes won't match. You won't have great achievements. Furthermore, I'm a man. Night Sorrow understood the Dark Soul Saint's words. This female was really cunning, and her methods were also very vile. Attributes won't match? You won't have great achievements? Then you are gravely mistaken. What I care about is the purity of your soul. Everything else isn't important. As for your attributes, if you were an ordinary attribute, I would use the life attribute to crush you. You have the sovereign level void attribute. This is exactly what I want. In the future, it will be much easier for me to reach the Great Tao. The female in a green dress left the pool and approached Night Sorrow. But I'm a man. Night Sorrow's body trembled as he tried to break free. If there was any danger, he would activate the seal-breaking bead. A man is even better. I don't like men, I like women. In the past, I kept beautiful women in my mansion. After I take over your body, I won't need a fake phoenix. The female's words were filled with excitement. Scram! You stay away from me. Night Sorrow's expression changed. This female was too abnormal. Not only was she abnormally strong, but her mentality was also somewhat twisted. Your body is very strong. It has reached the level of essence chi smoke. I like it. In the future, I can use this body to roam the world. Don't struggle, the seal-breaking bead is useless. The female reached out and tore apart Night Sorrow's robes. She then grabbed the seal-breaking bead from Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow was helpless. This female's thoughts were meticulous. She had actually discovered the unstable element in his body. At this time, Night Sorrow carefully connected with his storage ring. He planned to seize the opportunity to take out Wu Lingfei's soul orb and activate it. If he rashly took it out now, it would be easily taken away by this female. Don't think about it. You won't have the chance. After saying this, the female's body trembled and turned into a ball of light. She pounced towards Night Sorrow's head and began to take over his body. Night Sorrow didn't have the ability to resist. He could only let out a roar. Night Sorrow's roar was mixed with the female's scream. Chapter 4:17. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. When the energy body of the green-dressed woman entered Night Sorrow's head and touched his spirit sea, the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness in Night Sorrow's spirit sea moved. With a quick rotation, the woman's energy body was pushed out of Night Sorrow's spirit sea. This was not the end. The purple heavenly fate pearl of nothingness quickly rotated in Night Sorrow's spirit sea. A vast amount of nothingness energy passed through Night Sorrow's forehead and wrapped around the green-dressed woman's energy body. The woman's miserable screams kept coming out. The energy of the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness was crushing and grinding her, constantly depleting her energy. At this moment, Night Sorrow could move. Being attacked by the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness, the woman's spatial imprisonment was no longer effective. Quickly take it back. Why do you have the nothingness origin? Quickly take it back. The woman kept screaming. Translator, Sigma editor, Sigma editor, Sigma, heaven's sins can be forgiven, but the sins brought on by oneself are the hardest to bear. Night Sorrow took out his reincarnation spear and directly unleashed his most powerful spear attack. He stabbed towards the life origin in the woman's head. That was the source of her energy. The energy of the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness did not stop Night Sorrow's attack. Thus, Night Sorrow's spear heavily bombarded the woman's life origin pearl. Following Night Sorrow's attack, the woman let out a heart-wrenching scream. Her divine sense was attached to the life origin pearl of nothingness. Thus, she was fatally injured by Night Sorrow's attack. Following that, Night Sorrow violently attacked the woman's life origin pearl of nothingness. When Night Sorrow's fourth attack landed on the woman's life origin pearl of nothingness, the woman's energy body dissipated. A fist-sized green pearl fell to the ground. At this moment, the energy of the heavenly fate pearl of nothingness also retracted into Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Yi Shang stepped forward and picked up the energy bead that the woman in green had given him. He didn't know what it was called. After checking it over and over again to make sure that there were no signs of life and that it wouldn't cause any trouble, Night Sorrow put it into his storage ring. Then, Night Sorrow went to the shallow pond and collected the liquid of life. Then, he took the storage ring from the woman's corpse. The corpse was actually just a skeleton. After putting away the storage ring, Night Sorrow began to fish for life crystals in the shallow pool. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Night Sorrow had fished out more than 400 life spirit stones. This made him extremely excited. These were all very useful. Life crystals were not as extreme as death crystals. Even if it did not help one's cultivation, it was very beneficial to one's body. Who did not need the essence of life? After collecting them, Night Sorrow realized that he did not miss anything. He took a bath in the spring water that contained life energy and released Tianyu and Silver Fox. After that, Tianyu and Silver Fox began to play in the shallow pool. After playing for a while, Silver Fox jumped to the shore and stopped moving. His body did not move, but the energy in his body was surging. Breakthrough. Night Sorrow understood that Silver Fox was trying to break through to the core formation stage. Night Sorrow had long felt that Silver Fox should break through. It had been silent at the peak of element gathering stage for a long time. No matter how well prepared it was, there was a limit to it. Night Sorrow asked Tianyu to guard Silver Fox while he sat down cross-legged. He took out the woman's storage ring and began to check it. After checking, Night Sorrow had the urge to curse. The moment Night Sorrow's soul power entered the storage ring, there was a series of explosions in the storage ring. All the resources and materials were blown into pieces. There was a restriction. If the woman's soul power had not entered, everything in the storage ring would have been destroyed. After withdrawing his soul power, Night Sorrow cleaned up the trash inside. The storage ring was big enough and was a rare treasure in itself. Night Sorrow waited for Silver Fox to break through to the next stage by the pool. At the same time, he also practiced. 2 days later, a violent energy vibration came from Silver Fox's body, and then his aura began to rise. When it reached a limit, the tail behind Silver Fox began to vibrate, and then with a change, one tail turned into 4, one of which was relatively short. At this time, Silver Fox had entered the core condensation stage. Nine-tailed Fox. Night Sorrow stood up. He was extremely shocked. Silver Fox had actually activated the nine-tailed fox bloodline. That was the bloodline of an ancient mutated beast. It was extremely rare in the world, and activating it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, Silver Fox had succeeded. This proved that his future was limitless. Then Silver Fox's breath was still rising. His cultivation kept increasing until he reached the 5th level of the core formation stage. Night Sorrow was shocked. It took him a lot of effort and time to go from the 1st level of the core formation stage to the 5th level. However, Silver Fox completed the breakthrough in a moment. While waiting for Silver Fox to stabilize his cultivation, Night Sorrow began to practice his spear arts. A day later, Silver Fox finished stabilizing his cultivation. He pounced and landed on Night Sorrow. Not bad. You're too heavy. Night Sorrow smiled and reached out to touch Silver Fox's head. Silver Fox's head rubbed against Night Sorrow's chest. Silver Fox, you can't appear in front of people in the future. Your 4 tails will cause a lot of trouble, Night Sorrow said. A pair of elfin eyes looked at Night Sorrow. Silver Fox's 4 tails swayed and then turned into one again. You can change. That's not bad. You can play outside in the future. Night Sorrow knocked on Silver Fox's head and called Tianyu over. His body fluttered and he carried Silver Fox on his back. Then, they flew toward the spatial passage. Night Sorrow felt that the Blood Strike guards, Ho Jian, and the others should be waiting at the spatial passage. At that moment, the Blood Strike guards, Ho Jian, and the others were at the spatial passage. They had sent someone back to report. Wu Lingfei closed her eyes and listened to Lei Zhang's report. Then, she waved at Lei Zhang. My lord, will Night Sorrow be okay? Qin Nan asked. No, I left a trace of origin spirit qi in his body. I can sense his condition. His qi and blood are vigorous. He hasn't suffered any serious injuries, Wu Lingfei said. That's good. This guy is too worrisome, Qin Nan said. Actually, this also means that Night Sorrow's experience in the death space will not be simple, Wu Lingfei said. I don't quite understand, Qin Nan said. Some things can't be explained clearly. I can only give you an example. For example, if 3 people go out to train together, they might not gain anything because the heavenly Tao will not favor 3 people. However, if one person goes out alone, they might suffer a fatal attack or even die. But it's easy to gain something. Do you understand? Wu Lingfei said. I don't think Knight Sorrow's rise will be a problem. There is no need for him to risk his life in the death space, Qin Nan said. That's not wrong, but under such protection, a cultivator who grows up can only become an ordinary master. It's very difficult to become a king who can look down on cultivators of the same level. I don't think Yi Shang is willing to be ordinary, said Wu Lingfei. We understand, my lord. Lei Hua and Qin Nan bowed. Chapter 418. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. On a night of rest, Tianyu advanced once again, reaching the late stage of the spirit-severing stage. Knight Sorrow was very happy that Tianyu had advanced. If Knight Sorrow looked at Silver Fox with doting love, then he looked at Tianyu with brotherly love. Tianyu was a combat partner that he could rely on in life and death. After advancing, Tianyu's speed increased once again. With a flap of his wings, he could travel several kilometers. Knight Sorrow quickly returned to the spatial tunnel entrance. When they saw that Knight Sorrow was safe and sound, Ho Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guards, were very happy. Soon after, someone reported the news of Knight Sorrow's safe return to the spatial tunnel. Knight Sorrow couldn't leave. Once he left, he couldn't enter again. After resting at the spatial tunnel entrance for a day, Knight Sorrow led a group of people forward to investigate. Along the way, they encountered many dark creatures. However, the Bloodstrike guards, Ho Jian, and the others were all wolves, so they didn't give Knight Sorrow a chance to make a move. Tianyu and Silver Fox participated in the battle. Tianyu's strength didn't need to be mentioned. He could also kill rank 5 dark creatures. His combat strength wasn't weak at all. Silver Fox's combat strength was also very strong. His attack strength was average, but speed was his forte. Every time he attacked, he would leave behind afterimages. Opponents who weren't as fast as him had no chance of defeating him. Knight Sorrow followed behind. Although he said that he would bring up the rear, all the dark creatures they encountered were killed. Why would he bring up the rear? He just followed behind. Every time they set up camp, Knight Sorrow would work hard to cultivate. Now, his cultivation was more complicated. He had to consume Origin Spirit Liquid, hold Ice Spirit Blood Essences, and cultivate with spirit crystals in his left and right hands. Fortunately, these 3 things didn't conflict. Otherwise, Knight Sorrow would be at a loss. These 3 things were the foundation for him. He couldn't give up on any of them. The following days were very peaceful. Knight Sorrow acted a few times and killed 2 mid-stage rank 5 dark zombies. This made Ho Jian and the others speechless. If they encountered such an opponent, although they wouldn't be instantly killed, they would still have to retreat. On the other hand, Knight Sorrow could directly kill his opponent. This was the difference between them. Captain, the current situation is still very stable. It's just that there are a lot of dark creatures. We don't know if we can encounter any powerful dark creatures. After another round of camping, Ho Jian and the others came to Knight Sorrow's tent. Xue Ling also found a place to sit down. Liyue, don't just sit there. Brew a pot of tea. Knight Sorrow waved at Nan Liyue. You guys are bullying me. Nan Liyue took out a tea set and started brewing tea. Hee, we are very grateful. As for what you said, Ho Jian, we just came in to check out the situation. The powerful dark creatures won't be muddle-headed. Those who should have rushed out have already done so. Those who didn't have the chance to rush out have hidden themselves. It won't be that easy to encounter them, Knight Sorrow said. Ho Jian, don't jinx it. If we encounter a venerable rank dark creature, we won't even know how we died. A few days ago, when we encountered the dark serpent, if it wasn't for Captain covering the rear, we wouldn't know how many casualties we would have suffered. Nan Liu said after pouring tea for everyone. Actually, we are taking a bit of a risk. However, this can't be helped. If we don't solve the root of the problem here, the eastern Xian region will always be in danger, Night Sorrow said. Ho Jian and the others nodded. They also understood this principle. Let's hope we are lucky. Xue Ling, we all have protective bracelets. They were given by Tianji Tower. At the critical moment, we can still hold on for a while. So, if anything happens, you take the Blood Strike Guard brothers and retreat first, Night Sorrow said. Xue Ling nodded. He was very glad that the Blood Strike Guard had a responsible captain. Forever and ever, free of charge, said Xue Ling 7 next. The group continued to move towards the area with dense dark energy. The battle was constantly going on because there were too many dark creatures. Night Sorrow joined the battle again. He didn't want everyone to consume too much energy. There were too many dark creatures. However, most of them were dark beasts. The group didn't find too many dark zombies and corpses. Tianyu and Silver Fox's combat skills were also improving. Silver Fox was the main one. Although Silver Fox didn't get injured in the beginning, it was still difficult for him to take down his opponent. After Night Sorrow's guidance, Silver Fox also learned how to attack the weak points. There were no dark beasts below rank 4 that he couldn't kill. After moving forward for half a month, the group seemed to have entered a sea of dark beasts. They were constantly being attacked by dark beasts. After moving forward for a while, the group discovered a special situation. There was a dark crack in the sky in the distance. Dense dark energy was pouring into the dark space through the crack. There were also streaks of lightning. Under the spatial crack, there was a towering mountain peak. Under the lightning, Night Sorrow could clearly see a figure sitting cross-legged on the peak, cultivating. Let's retreat. We can't afford to provoke that guy. Retreat quickly. Ride your flying beasts and fly at a low altitude. If we provoke it, we will all die. Night Sorrow anxiously ordered. When the Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others got on their flying beasts and flew at a low altitude, Night Sorrow also summoned Silver Fox to get on Tianyu's back and retreat. After they were 100 miles away, Night Sorrow and the others gathered together. We can't play around in this space. That guy is definitely a venerable, and not just a low-level one, Night Sorrow said. Yes, the energy surrounding it is too terrifying. It can't be bothered to deal with us. Otherwise, we would definitely die. Let's retreat. Ho Jian nodded. We already know the cause of the dark energy in this space. There's no need to stay here. Staying here won't solve the problem. Nan Liu also agreed with the idea of retreat. With such a terrifying existence, this dark space wasn't something that they could clear. If they couldn't deal with the strongest dark creature, it would be meaningless to get rid of all the ants. Then let's retreat. Night Sorrow nodded. After finding the source of the dark energy, Night Sorrow and the others' mission was considered complete. In addition, Night Sorrow also knew that there wouldn't be any source stones in this space. The energy here was produced by the spatial crack. This space was originally a shattered space. It took them a few days to return to the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow told everyone to wait. He then sent Lei Bao back to report to Lei Hua and Qin Nan. However, the ones who could make the decision now weren't Lei Hua and Qin Nan. The two of them brought Lei Bao to Wu Lingfei's tent. After glancing at Lei Bao, Wu Lingfei nodded, indicating for him to report. Lei Bao then reported the situation they discovered. It's actually the Heaven Vault. Pass this crystal ball to Night Sorrow. Tell him to go to the Heaven Vault again. Tell him that when he reaches the Heaven Vault, he can use his energy to activate this crystal ball. Once the crystal ball lights up, he can return. Most importantly, tell him to carry the soul pearl I gave him earlier with him. Don't keep it in your interspatial ring. If he encounters any danger, activate it. Wu Lingfei took out a crystal ball and tossed it to Lei Bao. After that, she made some arrangements. Chapter 419. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Sir, this will put Night Sorrow in danger. A dark creature like that could kill Night Sorrow with a wave of its hand, Cheen Nan said worriedly. It doesn't matter. Many years ago, I had already condensed a soul clone. That soul clone has always been cultivating inside the Void Dao Stone, and my Void Dao Stone is on Night Sorrow's body. However, I told him about the soul crystal, so he doesn't know either. Wu Lingfei said. In other words, if Night Sorrow activates the Void Dao Stone, Master's clone will appear. However, once the soul clone is destroyed, it will cause a lot of damage to Master's original body. Lei Hua said worriedly. That's true, but it won't be that easy to destroy my clone. A normal soul clone only has 30 to 50% of the strength of the main body. But because of my talent, my soul clone has 70% of the strength of the main body. Wu Lingfei stood up. If the dark creature isn't that strong, Master's clone can sweep through this dark space, Cheen Nan said excitedly. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I don't want to use that soul avatar. That soul avatar is at a very critical stage of cultivation. Awakening it now will result in a great loss, Wu Lingfei said. Then let Night Sorrow investigate the situation. Sir, you don't need to use your soul avatar. Cheen Nan said. Yes, Cheen Nan said. First of all, we have to see if Night Sorrow is in danger. Also, we have to see what level that dark creature is at. If it can't reach the Saint Realm in a short time, we won't be in a hurry to deal with it. If it's close to the Saint Realm, I'll kill it to prevent future trouble, Wu Lingfei said. After Yi Shan heard Lei Bao's words, he took the crystal ball and placed the spirit orb that Wu Lingfei gave him into his bosom. All of you, go back. I'll go there again. Captain, this is too dangerous. How can the higher-ups make such an arrangement? Nan Liyue was a little dissatisfied. Don't worry, we were fine the last time, and we'll be fine this time. So many of us went and didn't attract that guy's attention. It's less risky for me to go alone. Alright, you guys go back. Night Sorrow kept Silver Fox into his beast-taming space. After that, he hopped onto Tianyu's back and sped towards the heaven vault. Seeing Tianyu's figure disappear into the sky, Ho Jian and Xue Ling led their people out of the spatial tunnel. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were very anxious. They knew that Night Sorrow had set off on a dangerous mission. Cheen Nan brought the two of them to Wu Lingfei's tent. Don't worry, I won't harm Night Sorrow. I have no family in this world, and Night Sorrow is the only one. I naturally have a way to protect him, Wu Lingfei said. Many thanks, milady. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu bowed. Forever and ever, I'll be able to read free novels. I called the two of you here to make you feel at ease. Go on. Wu Lingfei waved her hands at the two of them. Night Sorrow took the crystal ball and sped towards the heaven vault. There were darkness demonic beasts blocking his path. Night Sorrow directly got Tianyu to increase his speed and shake them off. Right now, he didn't want to fight. He wanted to complete this mission. In Night Sorrow's heart, he had already weighed the dangers of this mission. He knew that if he wasn't careful, he might die. However, he trusted Wu Lingfei very much. He believed that Wu Lingfei wouldn't harm him. When he thought of this, Night Sorrow took out the soul pearl given to him by Wu Lingfei. He knew that the key to his safety was within this green-colored stone. Staring at this green-colored stone, Night Sorrow suddenly thought of something. He seemed to have a similar stone as well. That was the stone he snatched from Qi Xian in the void baleful space. After taking it out for comparison, Night Sorrow discovered that it was exactly the same. He planned to ask Wu Lingfei about it after he returned to the Darkness Island. After keeping the green-colored stone, Night Sorrow kept the soul pearl given to him by Wu Lingfei. After that, he glanced at the crystal ball. He knew that this was a memory crystal. As long as energy was activated, it would be able to record some things. Night Sorrow understood that Wu Lingfei and the others were planning to use the memory crystal to investigate the situation in the Heaven Vault. After using 3 days, Night Sorrow arrived near the Heaven Vault. He got Tianyu to land on a dark ancient tree. Night Sorrow held the crystal ball in his right hand and channeled his energy into it. After that, the energy in the crystal ball circulated as the scenes in the surroundings were recorded. Even the silhouette of the person cultivating on the mountain below the crack in the sky could be seen clearly. An instant later, the crystal ball lit up. After that, the image stopped. This was a sign that the recording was completed. At this moment, Night Sorrow's body was restricted. Night Sorrow instantly activated the seal-breaking pearl in his hand, telling Tianyu to flee as fast as he could. If there was a chance to escape, he didn't want to activate the soul pearl given to him by Wu Lingfei. As the seal-breaking pearl was activated, the spatial energy around Night Sorrow became chaotic. Tianyu flapped his wings and flew away rapidly. After that, a series of explosive sounds rang out behind Night Sorrow and Tianyu. Night Sorrow turned his head and stared at the location of the figure in the sky. That figure stood up, but he only casually punched out twice and didn't pursue. After fleeing for 100 miles, Night Sorrow's heart finally calmed down. He knew that this darkness giant treated him like an ant and didn't place him in his eyes. He had no interest in pursuing him. After putting away the crystal ball, Night Sorrow rode Tianyu towards the spatial tunnel. He knew that his mission was complete and there wouldn't be any danger from now on. Without rest, Tianyu had expended a lot of energy. Night Sorrow fed Tianyu Origin spiritual liquid and returned to the spatial tunnel as fast as he could. At the spatial tunnel entrance, Night Sorrow turned around and looked at the death space. He knew that he wouldn't be able to return. He was helpless in this space restriction. In this space, Night Sorrow had experienced a lot and endured a lot of danger. Night Sorrow respected the Dark Soul Saint. The Dark Soul Saint had died for the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Moreover, he didn't have any ulterior motives towards Night Sorrow. After meeting the woman in the green dress, Night Sorrow understood one thing. The woman in green could possess someone and the Dark Soul Saint could tear open space. It wouldn't be difficult for her to possess someone. However, the Dark Soul Saint didn't do that. This was his nature. Of course, neither the Dark Soul Saint nor the woman in green knew that Night Sorrow had the heavenly fate jewel in his spiritual sea. Therefore, the woman in green was unlucky. As the saying goes, if you don't do it, you won't die. After looking at the death space, Night Sorrow walked into the spatial tunnel and returned to the Dark Island. He returned to the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Seeing Night Sorrow, Lei Hua and Qin Nan were very happy. Not to mention Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, who had been waiting at the tunnel entrance. They looked at Night Sorrow nervously. "It's okay. I'm not hurt. I'll go see the master first. We'll talk about the rest later." Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and walked towards Wu Lingfei's tent. When he arrived at Wu Lingfei's tent, Night Sorrow took out the crystal ball and handed it to her. Chapter 420. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Wu Lingfei thought for a moment and said, "Don't worry about it. It's still within our control. Later, when I master my cultivation technique, I'll go in and kill it. Andi Fei, the problem now is that those of us who are above rank 5 cannot enter." Night Sorrow said. "You don't have to worry about this. Aunt Fei has a way." Wu Lingfei nodded at Night Sorrow. "I have a piece of ore. Can Auntie Fei help me appraise it?" Night Sorrow asked. At this time, Lei Hua and Qin Nan nodded towards Wu Lingfei and left. They understood Wu Lingfei's method, which was to let someone bring the phantom Dao stone containing her soul avatar into the death space. The spatial passageway could block the beast taming crystal and the like, but the void Dao stone was rather special. It could isolate all energy and also isolate detection. "What ore? Let Aunt Fei see." Wu Lingfei took off her veil because there was no need to do so in front of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out his green ore and gave it to Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei took the cyan ore and flicked her finger casually, removing some of the impurities on the edge of the cyan ore. I didn't expect you to have this. You must have noticed that this ore is made of the same material as the spirit orb I gave you. Baidu search love go xiao say www.aichux.com. Yes, I feel that even if it's not the same, it will be close. Night Sorrow nodded. This thing is called the Void Dao Stone. It is extremely valuable. Although it is not as valuable as the Origin Stone, at certain times, its existence is even more important than the Origin Stone. Put it away. Wu Lingfei threw the Void Dao Stone to Night Sorrow. Then this? Night Sorrow took out the Phantom Dao Stone that contained Wu Lingfei's soul clone and asked. Q. Look at Chapter T$ on the F version 7. I'll leave it with you for now. It'll be a life-saving talisman for you, Wu Lingfei said. She didn't want to talk too much with Night Sorrow. With Night Sorrow's current level, knowing too much would only increase the pressure on him. Furthermore, she didn't want her soul avatar to become Night Sorrow's support. There was a great terror between life and death, and only by crossing the limit could one surpass oneself. If Night Sorrow knew the secret of the Void Dao Stone and the soul clone, then he would lose the training effect. I also obtained some things. Auntie Fei, can you help me take a look? Night Sorrow took out the energy bead left behind by the green-clothed woman after she died. Saint Crystals. You actually obtained a Saint Crystal? That's a Saint Yuan Spirit Orb. It has the same properties as an Source Stone, but it's lower. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow in surprise because this thing was too rare. Afterwards, Wu Lingfei explained the situation to Night Sorrow. When a cultivator entered the honorable realm, they had to reach the unity of heaven and man realm. This was a realm that could be reached as long as one's soul spirit energy was high enough. However, it was very difficult for a honorable to enter the saint realm. Even if one's talent was heaven-defying, if one didn't have the opportunity, they wouldn't have the chance. This was related to the laws of heaven and earth. If one wanted to enter the saint realm, they had to control the laws of heaven and earth. There were two ways to control the laws of heaven and earth. One of them was to have an Source Stone to analyze and control the laws of heaven and earth, and the other way was to obtain a Saint Crystal from a fallen saint. This was because Saint Crystals also contained the laws of heaven and earth. Refining a Saint Crystal would give one a chance to enter the Saint realm. Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Night Sorrow felt a bit conflicted because this Saint Crystal was very important. Wu Lingfei might need it, but Sikong Chuyu was of the water attribute, so he might need it in the future. Night Sorrow thought about it and felt that Sikong Chuyu was only at the 5th stage, so he was still a distance away from the honorable realm, let alone the saint realm. However, Wu Lingfei might need it soon. Auntie Fei, take it and use it. Night Sorrow said. It's not suitable. You might not know this, but source stones can be used as reference and can be used without any harm. However, this Saint Crystal will be gone once it's used, Wu Lingfei said. That's not important. I'm not of the life attribute, so I don't need it. Chuyu is of the water attribute and might evolve into the life attribute in the future, but at that time, I might be able to obtain other treasures, Night Sorrow directly explained. All right. Auntie Fei indeed needs this. After knowing you and borrowing your fate, Auntie Fei's strength will greatly increase. Wu Lingfei didn't hesitate and put away the Life Saint Crystal. Following this, the two of them sat down and Yishan told him about what had happened in the death dimension. He didn't hide anything, but he left out the part where the woman in green had been injured by the Nihility Fate Orb and didn't mention it. She wouldn't have died if she didn't seek it. She wanted to take over your body and caused her to fall. She deserved it. However, that dark soul saint is worthy of respect, Wu Lingfei said. Originally, I planned to give the death crystal to Tianji Tower in exchange for some resources, but I think it's better to keep it and give it to his successor in the future. This way, I won't feel guilty, Night Sorrow stated his decision. That's a good idea. Aunt Fei supports you. With death crystals, death attribute cultivators will be able to grow much faster. That way, you'll be able to leave behind some kinship for him. Wu Lingfei nodded in satisfaction. She really appreciated Yi Shan's magnanimity. There are also life crystals. Auntie Fei, leave some behind. Night Sorrow directly took out a small pile of life crystals. Night Sorrow, how can Auntie Fei endure this? Wu Lingfei said with a bitter smile. Auntie Fei, just take it. Night Sorrow said. He took out a third of it and kept the rest. He felt that it would be enough even if Sikong Chuyu needed it in the future. All right. Also, there is something else I need to tell you. A lot of dark creatures have appeared at the other exit of the death space. They have already broken through Jianghai City's defenses and are heading towards Starcloud Sect's territory. Dongxian City must take action in this matter. We have already sent several teams of Black Iron Guards over. Take 30 Bloodstrike Guards with you and go take a look, Wu Lingfei said. Okay, I will go back and prepare. Night Sorrow nodded. Let Commander Qin take you there. You are currently the captain of the Bloodstrike Guards. You only need to be responsible for Commander Qin. You don't need to care about the others, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, Tianji Tower is fine. I am worried that there will be more disputes in the City Lord's mansion. I don't want to be involved in their disputes. I also don't want to see those power struggles and schemes, Night Sorrow said. They won't. There are only 2 people in charge of the Bloodstrike Guards. Commander Qin is in charge of your side. If there are any blind people, just take out Auntie Fei's token, Wu Lingfei said. Okay. Auntie Fei, are you still going to stay here? Night Sorrow asked. Later. Auntie Fei will set up a formation here and then return to Dongxian City. When the time is right, Auntie Fei will come back to clean up this place. Also, some of the things you experienced are too shocking. It's best if you don't tell others. It will only cause panic, Wu Lingfei said. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.